What's going on, guys? Welcome back to some more FIRERED KAIZO. Let me pull up the... Alright, let me find a video to watch. Not a bad idea. Why is it like cropped so... I don't know. Anyway, let's... You always do go back to the invisible walls, explain video, but boring. I'm bored with that, honestly. I remember next doing some Pokemon Gold world record attempts. That sounds good. Actually, it seems a little bit laggy. That seems fine. Alright, so I will admit, I'm playing a BTD6 game, so I'm going to be multitasking a little bit. Because I'm doing an online game of BTD6, so I can't, like... fully focus, I guess. So I'm going to take
I'm gonna try to have
turns between doing a single... I'm gonna take turns between doing a single round and of KAIZO in a single attempt of Frank, you know what I mean. Wheezing, start off with. Yeah, we got Stab Poison Tail.
It is impossible to obtain an Oddish at this point in the game, but I do not have a Pokemon.
Oh yeah, we're actually out of the lab though. Dude, I'm actually sad this Wheezing is really slow. It's actually really good.
I mean, it's not as good as
besides that, obviously.
I don't have a cutter, but it's still good, especially considering the stat line.
But yeah, that's not bad. I wonder if I should get Arcane Spike. I think I should. I'm gonna sell that. Save up for it. I don't remember. Around 60. Yeah, no, we're good. We're good this round. All right. You know what? I think I'm gonna run it. Screw it. I know it's slow, but and I'll probably die to Wonder Guard, Destiny Bond or something. But it's a solid mixed attacker. I mean, so this Clefable though. Have Stab, Dizzy Punch. Yeah, I guess it's probably best not to run him on. I know it won't win.
Pretty good first split.
Oh, wow, this one. Of course, these punch and flame wheel where it's only good moves. Well, at least it's fast, so I can pivot with it. But, thanks.
Wow, really nice.
We always want to go for the items first, in case it's like a good Pokeball. Nest Ball, see, like that, for example. Altaria's not bad, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll try. I'll go for it. Yeah, definitely would not have wanted to go for him on top. All right, Altaria, please be good. Your physical attacker. Wow, you have 2 rock moves. Awful nature.
Nice. Huge.
This, we do have bulk up actually. That is a setup move. You know what? Yellow. I'll run it. Actually, hold on. Just doubling power. Read power double hit. Oh no, it's only if defensive curl. It's not if you're just defensive raise. Dang, that kind of sucks. But yeah, you know what? I'm gonna run it. It's kind of nice actually.
Speed tied with Goldeen, because good speed. It's fine.
Oh, we're gonna need to set up.
Totally fine.
We got if you're going for counter. All right, we're good. That was a little scary, but we're good. Okay, I do gotta keep in mind that rollout and rock slide are the same. Oh, missed, dude. Kind of shocked how much I'm struggling with. Did I get the PP? I don't think so. Oh, did he get it? That trainer isn't trying to. That sucks.
Shit tons of XP now. Just get no more encounters.
At least rock type can hit every single kind of Pokemon. So there's that. Why don't we lose? Let's rollout can get some good damage going.
No. If there was a place to get a repel at all, period.
That was a savage first attempt.
Then you would absolutely do it.
I totally should have won that, I think, but whatever. Move the attempt counter over here real quick.
In Crystal, there's a repel on the grass before this cave.
Wiping. Okay. We don't really have a choice. Take it.
Oh, you fucker. Alright.
Bruh. Just gonna reset there now. I haven't bothered wasting my own time, right?
Don't think there's any reason to kill this. I only got one more after. I haven't been battling in Pocket since Oricorio came out.
Going with FIRERED. Wow, look at that diverse moveset, man.
That would be pretty difficult.
Forgot that we can't miss in lab.
Ooh. I still have my Bitterberry.
Nice, right out the lab. Nice.
I'm level 15
Not bad,
as
not
well.
bad. Ember? Get muryCuphead.
I think I'm just potioning.
I do have levitate. That gives me what, 2 immunities? I'm not seriously considering running a FIRERED, guys. Don't worry. That would be sad. I love the gold and silver soundtrack. I don't know why this ROM's being so like laggy. Annoying.
Oh, you made me go the other way around the side twice in a row. I don't know, a lot of times you've made peace with it. My heart rate will definitely spike later in the run for spinners, though. Especially Joyce, since I have some ongoing trauma currently.
Max elixir.
Nice. That's really good.
Alright, finally beat the game. I can fully focus on KAIZO now. Come on, do you make Desperado instas? Dude. I want
Spinners and
Desperado
Emerald are completely
instas
different.
because
You can avoid
it's a new
all of
tower
them
and I don't have many
with
instas of it.
execution.
Whatever. Anyway, there doesn't seem to be anything good in this spot, the forest there. Surskit.
That Pictures guy, welcome back for 100 months.
Farfetch'd.
That's so many digits. Oh, that's a good crit.
Oh, there's nothing.
That's right. He
Is there
can
anything?
have some
There's
love.
Aggron at Route 1, but Aggron sucks to run.
For 100 months, I'd say so.
What was the other encounter? Yeah, see that?
Oh, I thought that was a crit, not gonna lie. That was a crit.
I know there's 4 encounters in this
16
area,
for
so I know we still have a chance.
Makes Rage a range to 2-shot, kind of annoying. Sometimes. It's alright, just get the nuts.
I know there's more than just Farfetch'd and
Already
Surskit in here,
nuts.
seriously.
Oh, I'm gonna need 1 more HP.
Ah, screw it, I'll try to catch him. Maybe that's pure power.
Alright, hear me out. First I crit.
It does not.
Yeah, there it is.
This is actually not that bad, though. Maybe I'll be the first ever person to beat
It's okay.
KAIZO with the
Just get a
Farfetch'd.
miss, turn 1. It's annoying how much it matters, but
No. Viking.
okay. Just need coughing to miss.
I always get the
Or
worst
I
of the
could
3.
crit and get a good roll. Oh, well, I could get into trouble if I crit actually, but hopefully he just misses. That would be super sick. Miss, 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 miss.
Nice, we actually got out of the lab.
Yes, dude, that's so
Pretty
fucking
decent mon to
good.
pivot with, actually. Good defenses.
What are the odds? I mean, I don't know exactly. He has Smog, Poison Gas, and Tackle. They all have a chance to miss, and he uses them equally.
There's a Gengar.
So, I mean, you could
I'll come
figure
back
out the
if I'm
chance to get a
desperate.
miss. But, I mean, he's definitely more likely to hit you than he is to miss you.
No game.
And it
Believe it
saved
or not, I
me the
don't
heal
want
turn.
a Lairon.
As well as the Super Potion itself. Pretty big deal.
I'm taking Ursaring. Could be good. Water Absorb's not bad. Oh, it's got shed coverage, but man, his moveset kind of awful. Honester. I mean, you could try to run it.
The Bitterberry is
Brother's
ours.
Scout, though. Let's see if we got any other options. I mean, there is always the Gengar back there. I wouldn't mind running a Gengar. Getting Jeremiah 2.0 would be nice.
You're not stuck.
Ooh,
with
Tentacruel. Ooh, with Drizzle? Heck yes. Heck yes. I'll take that. If I can catch it though. Body slam's good. Gotta run. Dang, it seemed pretty strong. Gotta get some more balls though. For some reason, Tentacle is just really hard to catch.
Dude, I swear to God, if he's stuck left and I can't fucking happiness farm because I'm poisoned, I'm gonna be pissed. Unbelievable. That is fucked up if I've ever seen it.
That's just the end of the run.
Good. We had to wait for 2 stuck spinners, both in the left direction.
I mean, the Star Spring's not bad. It's just, it's so mid. Moveset's kind of awful.
Yeah, that's something that you'd have to practice a shitload.
Zap Acid's nice. That's fine. It seemed like it was really slow anyway. Just annoying that it wasted my time. Tentacle's catch rate's really freaking annoying. No pure power. This actually would have been a really good pure power mon too. Look at that moveset. Holy crap. Dude, if yeah, this Beedrill had pure power, this would literally be like one of the best KAIZO mons I've ever seen in my life. Shadow Punch, Low Kick, and Sludge are amazing, especially if Sludge is stabbed too.
Nah.
Bite Cannon's even a nice coverage move. But no pure power, unfortunately. Would have been even better if I had an Adamant Nature though. Yeah, that down and attack nature just murders it. I literally wouldn't even mind running it without pure power if it just didn't have a crap nature, dude. Because that is an amazing moveset for a physical attacker. Like cow. Got 2 MyAAA. I mean, I'd take them. A moon.
And hitting
Mantine is an awful type. Fortunately. Alright, it doesn't seem to do anything good in the forest. Helmets is illegal. Refrig's just not that good. Lorbo could be good. Yeah, we'll go for that.
Yeah, it's relevant.
What is going on with this file? Why is it acting stupid?
The lowish defense.
My game just freeze.
Whitney.
Wow, all of OBS froze. Alright.
CupheadFast.
In the world, man.
And then the long rocket section into Claire.
It's happening again!
Just literally anything.
Dude,
I
what
would've
is
been
going
perfectly
on?
happy if you just fucking took my berry.
Is it because of the
That's
live
fine,
stream
though,
that I have up?
Obviously.
I'll just change the video real quick. Hold on. And it's froze again. What is going on, bruh? Why is my computer like having a heart attack? Oh, this like Yo, what's going
The
on,
Joy
Paul?
of Creation story mode is often considered one of the best
Oh,
FNAF
that's
fan
loud.
games of all time. The game was made by Nixon and was released on the 18th of July 2017.
There you go.
Before I talk about
You
why
have to
the
go.
Joy of
Don't forget
Creation
it.
story mode is the
Thank
best
you.
FNAF fan
Dude,
game,
Paul, look at this
first
beat drill. It would have been so good if it had pure power, but unfortunately it doesn't. So right now I'm trying to look for a slow bro.
The Joy of Creation began development in November 2015, meaning it took almost 2 years to make. These days it's not uncommon for a FNAF fan game to take that long to make, but back then, that was a very long time for a FNAF fan game. During those 2 years, a total of 5 demos came out, and I'm going to talk about all of them. But before we get to that, I'd like to quickly go over 2 other games that Nixon was working on before the Joy of Creation. The first and most well known of the 2 is Those Nights at Fredbear's. I already did a whole video on the game, I'd recommend checking that out if you want to know all about it.
Decent stat slow bro? I hope so. We'll see.
Shift at Freddy's. Both were going to be free roam games that would have revolutionized FNAF fan games.
Ooh, really slow. Stab Crabhammer though.
Lost interest in them. At around
But,
the same time, he began working on a
physical
different
attacker.
FNAF fan game, that being The Joy of Creation. The game was going to be a
Oh,
FNAF 4
dude,
fan
look at that
game. The
HP,
game
dude.
ties
55
into
HP at level 8 is
FNAF
insane.
1, which were in
What the
reverse
heck?
plays a part of the book, the
Oh, I don't want to
autobiography
pivot with this thing. We're just gonna reset
at the
now.
end, before getting cut off, it says The Joy of Creative Services, which was commonly misheard as The Joy of Creation. Come to think of it, The Joy of Creation sounds like the name of a biblical game, the kind of game Scott would have made.
Your name's slow bro. Yeah, exactly.
The trailer came out on the 28th
Thick fat
of
Absol?
2015. The trailer begins with a shot of a window from the outside. It displays text that reads, "We've been waiting for you." It then
Absol
cuts
wasn't
to
actually
inside
half
of the
bad.
office showing the monitor. It then says, "You can't forget us." It then cuts to a view of the window from the inside and says, "You can't run." It then cuts to gameplay footage of a door opening. The player then shines a light at the door to see that Bonnie is there. It then says, "You can't hide." It then cuts to more gameplay footage of the player looking around. It then says, "You can't leave." It then shows the player shining light at a cupboard revealing that Chica is inside. It then asks, "How long can you survive?" It then cuts back to gameplay footage where you get jump scared by Freddy. It then tells you that an early playable build will be released on the 30th of November 2015.
Ooh, Jolteon could be good.
Which it was. In the demo, you
Yeah, for Jolteon, it's not bad.
which will repel any
I was getting out of the lava was the hardest
in
part.
front is a double
I know.
door, on your right is a single door, behind you is a window, and on your left is a cupboard. You do have flashlight battery, but it'll probably never run out. The game is endless, you just have to see how long you can survive.
Yeah, we'll run this Jolteon. It's not bad.
Basically it, that's all the demo really
It's not
is.
great, but it's not
Graphically,
awful.
The game still looks good today and looked amazing for late 2015. It definitely still has a scary
Shell
atmosphere.
armor's nice, not being
The
able
way
to
that
get
you
crit.
can sometimes see a door slowly open in the dark, and when you flash an animatronic, it makes a loud sound that'll make you jump a lot.
Ooh, my loaded.
Gameplay
Oh,
itself
Dread
is
though,
not
never mind.
really that good. It's interesting at first, but it gets boring quickly. It's just the
Well,
same
Dread
thing
doesn't
as
necessarily
Lego.
mean
This
awful in
game
KAIZO, I
uses
guess, but
electronic ignited animatronics, who look terrifying. I personally think the withered animatronics from FNAF 2 are the scariest in the series. This turns the scare factor right up though, by making them even more broken. Something that you may not realize is that the ignited animatronics are not actually completely original. The ignited animatronic models are actually the withered animatronic models by Everything Animations. They were heavily altered of course, having different textures, being a lot more withered, and in the main menu they have phantom eyes. The animatronics are Freddy, Bonnie,
oh,
and
frick
Foxy.
off, dude. This
Freddy
guy's got like
attacks from the
perfect
door,
RNG.
Bonnie attacks from a single door, Foxy attacks from the window, and Chica attacks from the
Wow.
cupboard. There's a bit of lore to
I
this.
missed cross chop. He got spark, paralyzed me the first turn, and then I got fully paralyzed the next turn. What in the world was that?
The phone guy refers to you as Scott, which has led a lot of people to believe that you play as Scott Cawthon.
Jesus, Scott.
However, though, Nixon has confirmed that that is not true. He most likely named the character after Scott Cawthon, but that's not who he actually is in the game. The backstory of this game is that Scott is actually the purple guy who killed the kids. He brought the withered animatronics from the FNAF 2 location to his house, where the game takes place. And the reason why the animatronics are trying to kill you is because they are haunted by the souls of the dead children. Never heard that one before. Scott appears to own Fazbear Entertainment, or at least has a high level of power, as he's implied to be in charge of.
Thick fat on a shift tree is actually really good.
The phone guy
We're
works with
really
Scott.
just a grass
I don't know
type.
exactly what his involvement is, but he's aware of the murders. The first phone call you get is a phone guy explaining to Scott that the animatronics are broken and would not function as they were intended.
The endoskeletons are severely damaged and probably irreplaceable with the budget you give me. I'd recommend investing in new endoskeletons, as these cannot be fixed. The mainframes are very out of place, and I'm afraid if these animatronics were to put on, say, a show, they would most likely pretty much go bonkers in front of the children.
In the second phone call, the phone guy talks about how there was an incident with the animatronics. It's not really elaborated on, but I'm assuming that they killed someone. The phone guy also mentioned that he tried to bribe the police, but it didn't work.
Of course. I had a 66% chance of getting a Blastoise, and I failed. Because that's always how it goes for me. There's always an illegal mon, a good mon, and a bad mon, and I always, every single time, get the bad mon.
In the third phone
At least with the illegal mon, I can pick which Pokemon I get.
the company might get shut down because of it.
Like, seriously?
Just when I thought the company was safe from media, there always had to be something else occurring on the news. I don't know how you're gonna avoid the incident.
And that's all there is to say
Oh,
about
I
the
didn't even get a
first
chance to
demo.
kill myself.
When the demo came out, it was praised for its graphics and how scary it was, with many calling it the scariest FNAF fan game. Even though it really didn't have much, it was certainly a promising game. At an unknown date, the Joy of Creation was cancelled for unknown reasons.
I was like, I got a Voltorb and Togepi. Surely the last mon can't be as bad as those.
The first FNAF fan game he ever actually finished. Sometime after
Boy, were they wrong.
the Joy of Creation should be revived, in which a vast majority voted yes.
Well, I did get the best out of the...
On the 16th of April 2016, he released a teaser video with a new...
Why am I getting
version
so
of
many,
Joy of Creation Reborn. He may have
big fat
explained
mons?
at the
What in the
start of
world?
video
It's like my
saying the
third
game
one
was
this
not
or
guaranteed to
this
get
stream.
finished. The Joy of Creation Reborn was going to be a free roam game. The teaser shows gameplay footage of the player holding a flashlight walking around a series of hallways. They then get to a hallway where they see Freddy walking past. Then Freddy runs at the player and jump scares them. It then says
I just
that
reset
Alpha
if the
will release
my
a
starter's
deadline.
below 8
The game
speed.
received
It's not even
lots of
worth it.
hype when the teaser dropped. Even Scott Corfon himself commented, saying the game looked awesome and terrifying. This actually wasn't the first time Scott was excited for one of Nixon's games. He also commented on the first and second
Let me guess
trailer
this.
for those
Oh,
Nights
okay.
at Fredbear's. The Joy of
Oh, it feels
Creation
bad then.
Reborn was very similar to how those Nights at Fredbear's was going to be like, where the animatronics would chase you around the building. 5 months after the game's cancellation, it looked like we were finally going to get what was promised. On the 17th of April 2016, an alpha for the Joy of Creation Reborn was released. When you press play, it just throws you straight in. At the entrance of the location, there are doors that are slightly open, where you can see Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy staring at you. They're not threats, though. When you walk forward towards the right...
I don't think I've ever seen anyone run an Aerodactyl on KAIZO. Maybe once.
There's only one enemy, and that's Freddy, who walks around the location. If he sees you, he'll start chasing you. If you turn off the light, it makes it harder for Freddy to find you. If he starts chasing you, you have to try and outrun him, although he runs slightly faster than you and will oftentimes catch up to you. There aren't any objectives, and it's just endless until you get killed. Like the first demo, this left a big impression despite not having much to offer. It was considered to be by far the scariest FNAF fan game, so much so that even
Revival's actually pretty good.
This
So,
quickly
we're gonna
became
lose here
the most
then.
anticipated FNAF fan game. On the 15th of May 2016, a beta for the Joy of Creation Reborn was released. This had a lot of changes to the alpha. In alpha,
Oh, wow, okay,
3
nice,
levels
okay,
instead of
okay.
just one, and they actually have objectives this time. Each level
Honestly,
takes
for
place in a
Vileplume, it's
different
not awful.
location and has a different animatronic chasing you. You have Freddy, which takes place on the first floor, Bonnie, which takes place in the basement, and Foxy, which takes place in the attic.
You'd have to get
Each
really
level
good
you have
TMs
to
from
collect 5 objects
Brock,
within
though.
60 seconds. With Foxy, it's 90 seconds.
I'll only pivot if I
The
see a
objects
pretty
won't always
decent,
be
like
in
a
the same
really
places
good mon.
every
Like I'm
time.
talking
There
500
is a
plus
probability
BST.
of them being in certain places. It's hard to really explain where they can appear.
Or also take
until you
Vigoroth
put
or,
those on the map. You just have
the
to run
Tang,
around and
maybe?
memorize where they can
No,
appear and try
no.
not to go to the same place. You can sprint by holding the shift key, but there's no penalty for using it. I guess you can't see as well because a flashlight isn't facing forward, but I didn't really have an issue with it. If you fail to collect all the objects in time, you'll just be stuck in the game until you get killed, or if you exit. Now I'm going to talk about each level.
Ooh, Crobat, yeah, now that's a Pokemon
Despite having the same goal.
that I would not mind
Let's talk
pivoting
about
to.
Freddy first. The first floor is the same location.
Even pivoting to a higher level Vileplume, I'd do.
Furniture and the place just all around looks a lot better. They've made Freddy slower now, so you can quite easily outrun him if he finds you. I don't really find
Probably has a
Freddy
better
to be
nature,
much
too.
of an issue though, to be honest. The only time is really a pain is when I'm trying to go somewhere and he causes an obstruction by being in the way. But I
Flying
can
Sun
easily
isn't
get over
great.
that, and finding the objectives in time is definitely a bigger concern
Alright.
than watching out for Freddy.
I haven't
Now
brought
onto Bonnie.
the
base
Crobat
level
out front
is
yet.
bigger than the first
Do I take a
floor.
Pokemon I
It's
know
also more
is
complicated,
decent?
there being more long
Yes, I do,
quests.
because freaking this moveset's not
Also,
actually that
Bonnie
good
makes
now that I think
harder
about
than
it.
Freddy, but also Bonnie runs faster than Freddy. In fact,
Hmm.
Bonnie actually runs faster than the
You know what? It's
It
not
means that
bad.
if you don't lose him
It's not
quickly,
bad.
He'll get you. Also, when Bonnie jump scares you, he fucking punches you in the face. You can still get away from him though.
This moveset's
He doesn't completely
eh,
constantly
but like
seize you, so if you run around shorter, more twisty
it might
falls,
be
you
able to
can
get me far
eventually
enough.
lose
We'll see.
him. Regardless though, this is a lot harder than Freddy. So how scary are these levels looking back? I still think they're pretty damn scary. You really do panic when the animatronics start chasing you. I also really like the locations as well. There's not really anything lively there except for a killer animatronic you could just run into. I can totally see.
I think it'd be good with Calm Mind.
In 2016.
It'd be a Calm Minder.
It's not these two levels that really make the game scary though. Now let's talk about Foxy, which I would say is the best level in the game. I mentioned already they have 90 seconds to collect the objects instead of 60.
No fair, he can heal and I
The
can't.
level plays out very differently.
I confused him though.
The attic is a big location, which also has a lot of...
But what does that one have rock to?
This time
What?
though, there's a lot of wide spaces, while the
Oh.
other two levels are mostly just thin hallways. So you
We
can't
already
find
have poison power for Shed, but I
objects.
literally
This
cannot
time
use
he
Morning Sun,
doesn't
so there's no
walk
reason to.
around. Instead, he
that.
slowly stalks you the whole time. Occasionally, he'll run at you. However, he is really fast and you have no way of outrunning him. So when he starts running at you, you have to shine a light at him. This will temporarily stun him and he'll go back to stalking you afterwards. However though, if you shine a light at him when he's not chasing you, he'll run.
Yeah, for
at
some
you
reason
and
that
you'll
Manectric
keep the
just threw.
flashlight on.
I don't know why.
It's best to keep the flashlight off so you don't accidentally activate him. Foxy's eyes change depending on what behavior is in. When he walks normally, his eyes are just blank. When he chases you though, his eyes glow white. If you shine your light at him when you're not supposed to, his eyes go red. This is the best.
Just got two-shot by Pokemon, that's low on me. Well, attempt 2025, let's see if we can win on the attempt that is the year that I'm playing it.
This is also a lot more intense. Here Foxy is following you the entire time, so you're constantly prepared for him to attack. A week after the beta was released, the game received a major update. This added a new level, Chica.
Well,
takes
so much for
place
that
in
attempt.
forest. This one is very
Instantly get
difficult
shut down before the wild
This time you
fight.
have to collect 10 objects, all of which are pages, in 5 minutes. Yeah, you have to collect pages in a forest. Doesn't that sound familiar? The forest is by
Yo,
far the
Sir
biggest
Tame,
map.
welcome in,
It's also
dude.
the most open map as well, with there only being trees.
Right?
blocking your
Oh,
way.
well.
The forest is surrounded by a
I
massive fence.
don't know
Around the edges of the
why
map
I
is
read
a
it.
footpath, and in the center there's a lot of trees. So how does the level play out? Well, I
I'll
would
finish
say
this
the
attempt
scariest
and then I'll
level
go
and
right
my
gang next
second
time.
favorite behind
I
it.
actually don't mind going right gang. I am right gang myself, so.
She moves about as fast as Bonnie. However,
Dude, if
the map is
Ponytail
so
didn't
much
evolve
bigger
so late,
that
this thing
it's
actually
hard
wouldn't be
to
too
find
bad.
you. There is a catch though.
Like, you
She
still
can
evolved,
move if
but.
you're looking at her.
Also,
Although if
really
you look
bad.
at her for too long, her eyes will turn red and she'll run at you really fast and kill you. So what you have to do is keep looking behind you every once in a while. The closer Chica gets to you, the more you should look at her. Whenever she
The
freezes,
closer
she'll make a
Cheeker
movement.
gets.
I would also say this is the hardest level. Chica isn't really the issue, it's more so just how fucking big the map is. You'll oftentimes just end up going around in circles. What doesn't help is that the places aren't very distinct.
Well, at least you're right, yeah.
It's very
True.
similar, so you
Well, we
won't
could
know
get
where you're
Porygon.
going. When you beat all of the levels, you unlock an extra menu, which shows you the animatronics in a right room. To start off, the lights are on, but you can
I'm actually
turn
gonna
them
try to
off.
catch it
You
so I
can
don't
turn the
die
lights
here.
off, the music stops and a door will show up. The door will then lead you to a long hall that is the color of blood. As you move closer, a grey animatronic known as
We could try to run the
Vampire
Porygon till it
will
evolves,
run at you
honestly.
before disappearing. Then you'll find a grey door, which leads you to a more colourless room. You'll eventually walk into a wall. When you turn around, Phantasmagoric Freddy will be right behind you. He'll then disappear once again. Then you have to turn around and walk back to
Machamp
the
though.
cave. This time there'll be a door at the end. This door will then take you to a completely
That
black
items,
room.
yeah.
You'll keep walking past a different animatronic.
I think I might go for the
Phantasmagoric
champ here, I
Fox,
guess.
who will just
Unless
stay
it's the
still.
rare encounter, in which
Then
case I'm
after a
probably not gonna
while,
bother
you'll become
because
scared
it
by
would take way too long.
Foxy, and it'll say, come back later. So does a Joy of Creation Reborn still hold up? Well, it manages to be a fun and terrifying game 9 years later, but it's definitely not a great game. Keep in mind, this game was made in 2016, and looking back, there isn't really any great FNAF fan games from
Looks
that
like it's the rare
era.
encounter.
There's not even that many that I would actually consider
I'm not
good.
that desperate.
The game is definitely just a gimmick. After playing it for a long time, the novelty
I hate
wears
Relic
off and
Ant,
it
I'd
can
rather
become a
die.
bit boring. This
Awesome,
does
no.
make sense though. You see, the
Well,
freedom aspect is actually just a game mode for
we can either try to run this Porygon
Spoilers,
or
I know you probably already knew. There was never free roam mode in the full release of
try to
the
get a
game.
champ. I'd
This
rather
is
try to run this
because the
Porygon.
free roam mode was already released, so instead it was just listed as a different file on the game drop page. With that said, it's still a fairly good game, and if you somehow haven't played this game yet, you absolutely should, as it's a vital piece of FNAF fan game history. The Joy of Creation Reborn is tied with its later release, Story Mode, as the most successful FNAF fan game of all time. Like I said earlier, even non-FNAF fans check the game out, and at this point, FNAF fan games are generally
Goes on
not
to
looked at highly
2077.
by
Alright, let's try to go for
huge YouTubers such as DanceTDM, Jacksepticeye, and even the subscribed YouTuber at the time, PewDiePie, played the game. Even to
Writing this
day,
file.
no other
The
FNAF
growth could be
fan game
good.
has ever gotten that level of attention. This is not only a big deal for
You're killing me,
FNAF
man.
games, but
Get out of
also
my
horror
Lodic, bro.
games in general.
Oh, you know what though? Actually, the Veroth
game
isn't
is
half
still
bad.
nowhere near completion.
Of course, you have Hydro Pump. Dude, I actually would have ran that Vigoroth. That thing was actually pretty good.
In September 2016, a new demo was released. This demo would show what the main game mode, story mode, would look like.
Bruh, I always get the worst of the three options every single time, bro. My table look is actually
This
awful.
time, though, there's a lot more to it. You're sat on the
I literally
couch,
have like the
in front of
worst
a
table
TV
look of all
screen where
time.
You can see Chica. If you look behind you, you'll see double doors in the middle and a single door on your left and right. The most active but easiest enemy is Foxy, who comes from the double doors. Every once in a while he'll open them slightly. When he does this, you have to shine your light at him. You can walk to the door on your left and right. You can look
Right,
behind
gang.
to see if anyone's
Miltank's
in the hallway
good.
behind the door.
It
Freddy attacks
was
from the left hall and
not
Bonnie
as good as
attacks from the right.
Vaporeon. Oh
When
my
you get too close,
gosh.
you must hide behind the
That's the
couch
worst
until
speed I've
they
ever seen. I'm not
As
even
for
gonna
Chica, the lights in the
bother.
room will turn themselves off occasionally. When that happens, you must turn them back on. Next to the left and right door, you have a light switch where you can turn them back on. The longer they're off, the closer Chica will get to leaving the room she's in. When she leaves,
Oh, we got a
you're dead.
Blastoise. Finally, our
There's
table looks
just
turning
one
around.
issue with the gameplay.
Volt Absorb?
There's an exploit. Yeah, you can just hide behind the couch. the
That's
whole
pretty good. That
time,
means
only use
Blastoise only has one
attack
weakness
when the
then.
lights go off. And it's not like not doing this makes the game any more interesting, as you're just waiting for Freddy and Bonnie to attack. Also, if you get attacked by Foxy at the same time as Freddy or Bonnie,
Dude,
there's
I
nothing you can do. So yeah,
I should've won
the
that one.
gameplay of the living room is actually pretty bad. However, there are
Right,
aspects that I do
gone.
like. The location is really good looking, everything is well rendered, and the game still has an unnerving feel to it. Before realizing you can break the game, it is quite intense when you look through the keyholes. One big praise I have for this game
Wow,
are the jump
this is the
scares.
worst
These are actually
night
some of
kills
the
I've ever
best
seen in my
jump
life.
scares out of all the releases. What I like is that depending on where you are in the room, you'll get a different jump scare, but I also really like Bonnie and Foxy's jump scares. When Bonnie jump scares you, he once again punches you, but this time you actually see your character dropping dead afterwards.
How dare you say right gang sucks? Yeah, we'll go mid gang. That's
And in
is that what you're saying?
Foxy's
I don't know.
jump scare,
But
not only does
we'll
he
go.
slice you with his hook, but is actually visibly
Bruh.
animated blood that
Why do I
comes
keep
out.
getting the slowest mons in the universe right now, bruh?
I also like the game over screen, which shows the ignited animatronics' heads and the option to try again being in Freddy and Chica's eyes. There's not really anything else to say about this demo. While I don't think it's very good, I still appreciate the ambition, and this is just an endless mode, so it doesn't really mean anything. Right?
Correct. Bruh.
Before the next demo was released, a new Joy of Creation game was released on Halloween, titled The Joy of Creation Halloween Edition. This was a standalone.
Ooh, mine
and
could be
wasn't
good.
in any way linked to the full game. But I'm gonna
Dude,
talk
I
about it
always
anyway.
get slow
The
mons.
game
What is going on, bruh?
Right. It's unclear exactly what the premise is, but by looks of it, you're an
I literally would've
investigator
won
who
if you
visits
didn't
the
flinch
place
me.
after it closed.
And you flinched me
At the
twice in a
start
row.
of the game, you get a phone call from a creepy man who tells you that the place is haunted by the dead. He warns you that there is an entity who will kill you if he finds you. That entity being the new animatronic, Ignited Spring. He also tells you that the only way to stop this is by committing arson. You have to burn the building down by
Wow,
breaking
hop it or
pipes and
corfish, what a
lighting
hard
the
decision.
fire. The goal is to find a hammer and a lighter, which are in a random place. When you get the hammer, you can start breaking the pipes. After you break 6 pipes, you need to go to the entrance with the lighter. Ignited Springtrap is the only obstacle. He walks faster than you, so you can't outrun him. What you're supposed to do is play audio in another room. On your smartphone, you can view the cameras in the building, and you gotta play audio in the camera to get him to follow. There's
Yeah, that's
just
not
one
bad.
problem though. There's no map layout. You don't know where you are, you don't know how far the camera is, and if Springtrap finds you, most of the time the audio won't work. I'm not sure if this is because he's programmed to chase you regardless of if the audio is playing, or if I'm playing it too far away. But regardless, there's not really an easy way to deal with Springtrap. You
Ampharos!
just have to hope that you don't run into
Ampharos!
In other words, it's basically just luck. As usual, the graphics are really good. I do like the Fazbear's
And
fire
Ampharos with
rotation,
levitate and tail
and
glow? What in the
scary
world?
attack. An Ignited Springtrap looks really cool.
What in the
game is
world?
pretty damn short, with it being over once you've completed
Okay.
the objectives that I've talked about.
Interesting.
Once you've
Oh,
done
of
that,
course you
get
put
a
me to sleep,
cutscene.
dude.
You're trying to escape the place which is engulfed with
I hate
flames.
this game so
But as
much.
you're about to get out, Springtrap finds you and punches you, knocking you straight down.
Wow.
Then he starts strangling you. When he gets really close to you, you pull up his mask, revealing that he's possessed by a corpse.
He
Then
put
the
me
game
asleep
ends
with the
after you
50% accurate move, and I was quiet
quiet
long enough. I was asleep long enough for him to just absolutely obliterate everything. I hate this game so much.
Worth looking into it too deeply.
Was it Bulby
The
and
phone guy's
Colava?
very vague, claiming it has history of the place, which is why he knows a lot. But doesn't
Wow,
say
this thing will
anything else.
definitely win.
Wouldn't I kill myself by blowing this place up? Who is he, and how do you know all this?
Oh, let's just say I have some history with the place.
What is that? Damn it.
It makes sense for him to be
Well, it's
quite
not Ambrose,
about
but
it
it's
at
something
first, but
like
none of this
Ambrose
is
is.
ever elaborated on later.
Bro, how do you have the same speed as the previous Amber?
Is supposed to be. You could say that is William Afton. What purpose is he supposed to serve in the lore? Again, I don't think this is supposed to really have much story to it.
I don't know why the person being on the phone that William Afton
Now let's
William
get back
Afton
to
is.
talking about the Joy of Creation story.
Wow,
mode. In March
powerful table here,
2017,
man.
A new demo was released. When you open the demo, you get a first-person
Wait, was
cutscene
Crobat
of a man walking
the
to
one
a
that
house.
fights Typhlosion?
Then
Okay,
gets a
good.
call
I was
from a
like,
guy
I think
named
so.
Tobias, who reveals that the man's name is Nick and that he owns the house. It is implied that he wanted the house for a long time.
Hey Nick, the house, it's yours.
Finally after so long. Thanks, man.
After the cutscene ends, you get a menu screen which shows a door on your left. When you click the door, it says choose your memory, living room, forgotten. The levels in the game are referred to as memories. This demo contains 2 of them. The game takes place in a house, and each memory is set in a different part of the house. The first memory is a living room. The living room is the same as the living room in the last demo. This time you have to survive until 6 AM.
I hate
The room
slow
which you live in
Pokemon.
mainly has better graphics. You get a tape recording at the start. It reveals that you play as Scott Cawthon. Yes. in this
I haven't even
game,
made
you
it to Brock
actually
yet.
play as Scott Cawthon, who is canonically the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's in the game. In the tape, a man named Michael is talking to Scott about how the animatronics work. Basically, it explains how you play the living room. I've already explained how to play the living room, so I don't really need to go into it again. It plays out pretty much the same, it's just as exploitable and look-based as it was in the last demo. When you die, there's a rare chance you'll get a cutscene which shows you inside of
Ambrose,
Freddy.
and I
Then
get
another
rolled.
Freddy animatronic comes up to you.
7
before it
speed,
ends.
not worth
The
my
other
time.
Freddy is a new animatronic, Ignited Golden Freddy. After you beat the living room, you get a cutscene. It starts off with a child calling for their dad to help, even though the voice is clearly a grown woman.
Daddy, help!
Then the dad, who is Scott Cawthon, shouts their name.
Nick!
This reveals that Nick, the guy in the opening cutscene, is Scott Cawthon's son. Before continuing any further, I think
Of course, I finally get him one that I wouldn't mind getting out of the lab with, and I guess been one shot, even though I probably could have one shot.
Scott is known for being a very private person in real life, and while we do know he has 6 kids, it's actually unknown what their names are. So if one of his children are actually named Nick, then that's just one crazy coincidence. Nixon has confirmed that the name of the character Nick is actually a reference to his own name, Nick being short for Nicodemo. This also goes for any other named character in Scott's family. Also, the real Scott Cawthon did later confirm that he was okay with this.
Well, I don't really need to think of how he reacted because he actually did react to it. And, I quote, "I didn't know that this was going to be the plot, but I'm okay with it. I'm even honored
Wow.
by it and kind of like the fact that I died in it."
This thing's really good. Too bad I'm not
With
gonna
that
get to
out
use
the
it.
way, now let's talk about what happens in the cutscene. Scott opens
Miss.
the door and starts killing people.
Yes!
Opens
We're running
the
this.
dream.
We're running a duo.
Then
I don't
the door
care.
slowly opens, showing Freddy behind it. Freddy
Calm
slowly
Mind
walks towards
Dugong
Scott and tries to attack him, which leads to a chase
with
sequence.
Ice Beam? Frick yes, I'm running this thing.
Oh god! What is this? Help! Somebody help!
Excuse me? How is that Dragonair so fast?
Sam, where are you?
Please, Dragonair, please let me go.
What is going on?
He ends up at a table at the end of the hallway to find a note left by his family to say that they've hidden somewhere. After that, you unlock the bedroom, a game mode which we had not
Just don't
yet
make me
seen.
run a Dragonair, please.
Despite being a second level in the demo, the
It's only level
bedroom
3,
actually
we're
takes
good.
place before the living room. It is said in the cutscene at the end of the living room that
3's
Nick is
good.
hiding away. It's probably after the living room because we'd already seen a living room in a previous demo, so it showed that one first. In the bedroom, you play as Nick. At the start of the bedroom,
A
like the
Snorlax.
friends, Nick
I'm sorry,
hides
but
the animatronics. Nick is in a
I-
crib. Next to it is a
Dude,
desk
why
with
does
a
it always?
light
Why does it have to always give me good mods whenever I get a good mod?
and on the right
I can't risk it, dude. I don't know if Snorlax is good, but I know Dugong is good.
Proxy. Freddy is the most active enemy. You'll first see his arm knock on the window, then shortly afterwards you'll see his face. Then you have to hold the curtain shut until he leaves. When he leaves, he'll make a noise. Every once in a while, Bonnie will knock on your door. He'll either knock on your door 2 or 3 times. If he knocks twice, he won't actually do anything. If he knocks 3 times though, you'll have to turn off the lamp and sit down. While sitting down, you can't turn a lamp on or off or close the curtains. Then you have Chica, who will attack from a closet. When she opens the doors, you just have to turn off the light. If you don't though, Chica won't actually kill you, instead she'll stun you and make your sanity go down. I'll explain the sanity mechanism in a bit. Lastly, there's Foxy. Foxy's the least active but biggest threat. You'll first hear him scratch on the crib. Later, his hook will appear on the side of the crib. When this happens, you have to turn off the light, sit down, look up, and close your eyes. When you hear a scratching sound, it means
Oh,
it's
frick
gone.
off.
If you close your eyes while Chica is attacking,
Yeah,
you'll
unfortunately, I
stun.
think the
Now
Dugong was
on
just
to
too
the
slow.
sanity. There's
Should've
a
gone for
green
the
light next
Snorlax,
to the
but
door. When your
hindsight,
sanity
right?
gets lower, it'll change color. First
Always
it'll change
hindsight.
to yellow, then orange, and then red. Your sanity will go down when you have the light off. If you look at the animatronics, close your eyes or get jump scared by Chica. When your sanity gets to orange, you'll hear a heartbeat, the colours will fade and the sounds will get lower pitched. When it gets to red, you'll start hallucinating Golden Freddy and Shadow Freddy. These hallucinations are harmless, but they will throw you off. If your sanity stays red for too long, you'll eventually die. There isn't any way to increase the sanity. If you have a light on unless dealing with someone and avoid Chica, you'll probably be okay as far as sanity goes. Your sanity will always be orange or red by the time you get to 5 AM. This is a huge improvement over the living room. This is actually a really intense night. You're always on edge whenever an animatronic attacks, especially Foxy. And you really do start panicking when your sanity gets really low, which like I said, often happens when you're at 5 AM. Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica attack you very frequently so it doesn't get boring. Also, there's a Pop Goes Easter egg in the bedroom.
He will knock on the door to let you know he's there. And once he opens,
I only really have two issues with the bedroom. One is that even though it is fun and intense, the whole time you are just waiting for someone to attack, doing nothing while waiting. The other is that if Chica attacks you at the same time as Foxy, you're probably dead. You'll be unable to sleep again
That could be
afterwards,
good.
so Foxy will just kill you. You'll only be safe if Foxy leaves before Chica attacks. But yeah, the bedroom is really good, and at this point it was probably the best game mode that had been released for the joy of creation. When you beat the bedroom you get a cutscene. In the cutscene it shows Scott picking up a tape of his wife Val and Nick. It informs you that they have hidden in the attic.
I wonder where Daddy went. He was gone after I shut the door. Dick, stay close. Where are we going, Mummy? To the attic. They can't harm us there. But
Ugh, they're in the attic. I should have known.
Then it takes you back to the menu. You'll unlock a third door that you can't open, and that's the end of the demo. Before the full game,
This thing's special attack and attack were swapped, and it had bulk up. This thing actually would be runnable.
April 2017. The video opens with a view of the outside of the window. The camera then zooms in on a Chica poster in the room.
Oh yeah,
It
it
then
could be
cuts to
good.
the player opening curtains and shining
We'll get
their
a
flashlight
Pokeball,
outside.
or buy
They then
Pokeballs.
slowly walk towards double doors, open the doors and shine their light. They then look towards their right and briefly see Chica coming out of the wall. Then the screen goes black. The title of the game pops up and the video ends. The second video was released on the 24th of April 2017. It opens by showing you a hand clock saying that it's 9:30. You then hear a tape of Scott
Wow,
being
I
angry
assume it's
about
your only
Bonnie
move,
breaking the
really?
camera.
broke it! The bastard broke the camera! Damn it! Bonnie just broke one of my cameras!
It then cuts to a desk with 3 monitors. The middle one is blacked out and the other 2 just show static. The player looks at the monitor on their right. It shows that you can turn the camera around. They slowly turn it towards the left where
I
they
mean, I
can
guess
see
we could,
Bonnie.
we
It
could
then
try to
cuts
get
back the tape
Houndoom.
playing.
They don't do that! None of them have ever!
It then shows a player walking towards a door on their left. They then open the door to see that Bonnie is there. It then plays more of a tape. While the tape is playing, the player looks at the left monitor and sees Freddy. It then shows them walking towards the curtains. When they open them, Foxy is standing there. You then get a series of quick shots of gameplay footage. It shows Foxy in a camera, Chica running at you and Freddy at the double door. It then blacks out. When it cuts back, the lights in the room are now off. The double door slowly open, revealing that Freddy is behind it. Then it cuts to the title and the video ends. This video showcases a new memory, The Office, which is also the location seen in the first teaser. The third video was released on the 28th of May 2017. It opens up by showing a furnace where the camera slowly zooms in on. It then cuts to the player pressing a red button after entering a code. They then turn to their right where there's a gate. The gate slowly opens. Behind the gate is a key. When you grab the key, you look to your left and see a stairway that's being blocked by pipes. They then turn around and see another gate slowly opening. They then walk towards a green door where they enter a bathroom.
Honestly,
When
at
they
this
step
point,
out
I'd
the
rather risk
bathroom,
it
they end up in a
with
wrong
the
door.
Umbreon.
It then shows the title where the video ends. The final teaser video was released on the 4th of June 2017. It opens by showing a door with bars over it. The lighting is dark red. The camera views up where you can see a screen that says the number 6. It then cuts to a room with a lot of monitors. The monitors display text, one word per screen, many shapes all similar but different. It then quickly cuts to a screen that says 6 before cutting to a player walking around the room. They turn off their flashlight and see in another room there is an endoskeleton. They walk up to the endo before it cuts to another shot of the monitors. This time it says, "Or keeping us in here with you." It shows a screen again which now says 5. It then shows a player walking towards a furnace where they put a hook in it. Then they close the furnace. Then it cuts back to the monitors which says, "Find the key to fit the lock." It then cuts back to the screen which now says 4. The player puts a code in the keypad, 1254. They then press a red button. It then shows the monitors again which says, "Avoid the ones lost to the fire." The screen now says 3. It then shows a player walking down a long hallway seen at the end of the last teaser. They then look behind them before it cuts to the monitors, which says, "Give him to us and we promise." The screen now says 2. It then shows the player opening the gate in front of the door that we saw at the start of the teaser. It then shows the monitors again, now saying, "His kindred to fulfill your desire." The screen now says 1. It then shows the monitors which just display phantom eyes. Then the title drops and the video ends. These two videos showed another memory, that being the basement, which looked very different to the other levels. There was one final video posted before the Joy of Creation story mode was released. It came out on the 8th of July 2017. It opens by zooming in on a trap door. You then hear Michael talking.
You've prolonged this for too long, Scott.
It then cuts to the living room, then the bedroom, then the office, and then a wall. You then see the cutscene that you got at the start of the demo, but with different dialogue playing over it. Nick now has a different voice actor.
It's been years since I've been inside this house. I lived here when I was just a kid with my family. My mom, my siblings, my dad. I don't have the full story, nor do I know why it happened, but I can tell you how it started. Everything else is up to you to figure out.
Wow, look at this thing.
Is the story of the night I lost.
It's got great stats, but it's only 2 moves that are special.
Almost my family.
Or healing moves, dude.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Really?
Just ended.
It then cuts to a player walking down the stairs in the basement. It then shows them closing the curtains on Freddy in the bedroom. It then shows you a clip of someone walking towards you. It then shows gameplay footage of a living room, which looks a lot different to how it looked in the demo. It then shows them opening a door where they shine a light at Freddy. The next shot is in a red room with the gate slowly opening. You then see a living room again which shows Freddy entering. It then cuts to Scott yelling at a monitor.
I created you. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy. How is this happening?
I because I'm actually has
You then see a player pulling up a poster to find a phantom cupcake in a hole. It then shows a player entering the office. Then it shows them looking for a keyhole to see Bonnie. It then cuts to another shot of a wall. You then get one final scene which shows a sneak peek of a cutscene.
And to do that, I need you to die.
Leave us alone! No!
The title drops for the final time and then you get a jump scare. It then reveals what would end up being the release date for the Joy of Creation.
No game, I know that this algorithm.
July 2017.
Oh, I'm out of
the most
balls.
Anticipated FNAF
Well,
game
frick my
of all
life,
time
everyone.
would finally be released. Quite an insane fact here. When the Joy of Creation story mode came out, so many people rushed to download the game that it actually crashed Game Jolt. Yeah, pretty crazy. And now we are finally going to be talking about the full release of the Joy of Creation story mode. The game opens with the same cutscene as the last demo, but as the trailer implied, Nick now has a different voice actor. It then transitions to a different cutscene of Nick talking. He mentions that he lived in the house that he now owns when he was a kid with his family. It is implied that something really bad happened a long time ago, which led to him leaving the house. The Joy of Creation story mode takes place on the 8th of August 2016, intentionally on the 2nd anniversary of FNAF 1. The game takes place over the course of just one night. Between each memory you get a cinematic cutscene. The first memory is the bedroom. In the cutscene at the start it shows a perspective of a seemingly injured man who just broke into Scott Cawthon's house.
Look, by the way, no problem.
Question what he is doing, but he doesn't say anything. After Scott threatens to call the police, the man confirms that his name is Michael.
Excuse me? 45 attack? Is this real life right now?
They ask where Michael came from and what he's doing in their house. Michael responds by saying that he doesn't know. Nick convinces Scott to let Michael stay at their house for the night, which he reluctantly agrees to. The cutscene ends with Scott helping Michael off the floor. It then cuts to Nick in the present day talking about how
this is a wag God of War. What in the world?
I can't remember much about Michael. but I knew he wasn't a bad person. Or at least he didn't look, you know.
+6? Are you joking with me, game?
So I guess I just didn't know any better.
Yeah, it's too slow, but like.
That's for sure.
So the version is mostly the same as it was in the last demo, however there are a few noticeable changes. This version has slightly altered the AI of the animatronics. They've now made it a lot more fair if you get attacked by multiple at the same time. Freddy and Bonnie literally cannot attack at the same time. If Freddy knocks on the window whilst Bonnie is attacking, he'll wait for Bonnie to leave before looking at the window. Foxy has been changed quite a bit. Before he had to pretend to sleep when he put his hook on the crib, this time you can wait for him to stand up. Foxy won't kill you right away when he stands up. If you stare at him in the eye for about 2 seconds, then he'll kill you. So if you get attacked by Freddy at the same time as Foxy, you will survive. When you're lying down and when Foxy stands up, he'll be staring right
All
at
it really took was just a fast,
close your eyes.
strong special
This version
attacker.
of the
I
version
mean,
is definitely better than the first version,
but that was a
with it being very
whack-mon, man.
There are a few more small changes, like there's different hallucinations when your sanity gets to red. Also, if your sanity gets too low, you actually get a secret cutscene before the game over screen. I'm going to talk about this cutscene later on though. After you beat the bedroom, you get a newspaper that says 2 years of Five Nights at Freddy's. It says that the creator of the game has shared screenshots of the process of making the animatronic models. The images it shows are actually real behind the scenes screenshots that Scott shared on the second anniversary
Dragon Rage?
of FNAF.
This is better than regular Rage, am I right?
Games, there's small text that you can't read. After the bedroom, you unlock the living room. The cutscene has Scott telling his
Yeah, we'll try to run it just because Dragon Rage runs are fun to run. Maybe we. I mean, screw it. Maybe we could call my Toggle. I mean.
While he is gone, the lights go off. Then the living room begins. In the living room, you play as Val. At the start of the living room, Michael says to Val that she is in grave danger, and explains that you have to hide from the animatronics if they get in. Michael says that she'll have to survive until 6 AM, while also saying that 6 AM will arrive within a few minutes, meaning that the clocks were tampered with.
I just like getting starters that are half decent, because then I don't even worry about.
Which is a bit of a weird plot point.
I don't like pivoting and FIRERED.
What's even happening? How do you know all of this stuff? Wait a second. How do you know my husband's name? I was there when he found you, Michael. He never said his name. How do you know?
Michael leaves before he can answer, though. So I mentioned that I don't like the living room.
We'll see, it's not bad.
Well, you know who also didn't like the living room?
More of a special attacker anyway, and it's kind of risky.
So we completely redid it. The room's layout is very similar, where you sit on a couch and behind you there are 3 doors.
I think it would have been better if its attack and special effects are swapped, but whatever.
This new and drastically improved version of the living room is free of exploits, RNG, and waiting around. This time you actually have control over the TV. The TV displays a first-person view of Freddy
I was just curious to see how much it would do.
both walking towards you. You can switch between the views.
Spoiler alert, not a lot.
On the right. They'll both eventually reach the doors. Freddy will be on the left and Foxy will be on the right. Keep in mind the TV view is mirrored to behind you. In the living room you can actually get up off the couch and walk around the room. You can't view the TV unless you're sitting down though. When Freddy or Foxy reach you, you've got to hide behind the door that they came from. However though, both of them will reach you at the same time, meaning that the one you didn't hide from will see you. So what do you do about that? Well, there's a pause button in each screen where you can stop the animatronics movement. You can only pause them whilst looking at them, so you can only pause one at a time. If you pause an animatronic, they'll fall behind the other one, meaning they'll get to you later. However, this is where things get a bit confusing. By the sounds of it, you can just pause one animatronic for a bit and there you go. Well, no, because the other animatronic will stop occasionally, which will make the other one catch up. So you should keep pausing one of the animatronics every once in a while whilst checking the other one. Also, keep pausing the same animatronic. It makes it a lot easier if you do it that way. I always pause Freddy, but it doesn't actually matter which one you decide to pause. Now on to Bonnie. In the double door behind the couch, you can check the keyholes. Bonnie has 4 phases in the hallway before he reaches you. When his face is covering the keyhole, his next step is a living room where he'll attack. Every time he moves, he'll make a moaning sound.
Yeah, homo.
You also deal with Bonnie by hiding behind the door, but if you hide behind the left or right doors, Bonnie will get you. So you need to make sure that you don't get attacked by Freddy or Foxy at the same time as Bonnie. Freddy and Foxy by default will not attack within the same time as Bonnie, which is why you need to make sure you hide from the animatronic you've paused right after the other one. There's also Chica. From about 2 AM you'll occasionally hear a growling noise. When this happens you have to stand up.
Why is this Dusclops so thick, bruh?
Will stun you and temporarily disable the monitor. If Chica jump scares you at 5 AM, you'll die. This is really the only RNG based part of the level, as you'll be unable to pause anyone for about 3 seconds, but it's not a huge inconvenience. I would say the living room is better than the bedroom. You never get a chance to breathe. You're constantly checking Foxy and Freddy, paying close attention to where they are. I would say the bedroom is a bit more scary though. When you get to 5 AM, the room will turn red and an ambience will play. This turns the intensity right up. Now,
I've been having.
But let's face it, you already know what happens in the game. I would say the living room is the hardest memory in the game. Some of the later nights are harder in some ways, but I'll explain that later. In terms of which one is the most difficult to complete, I would say it's the living room. If you make one mistake, that'll probably be the end. You really have to be careful with how much time you spend checking the animatronics. When you beat the living room, it shows a newspaper next to the fireplace. The newspaper says, "The Haunted Woods. Increased paranormal sightings near the countryside sparks interest for a full investigation." The next memory is The Office, a game mode that we had never played before. In the cutscene, Nick talks about what happened after the events of the living room, saying his mum picked him up and ran out of the house.
If this thing gets past Brock, I'll give myself $1 million.
I was scared for my life. It was the scariest moment of my life, for sure.
After that, I plays the same cutscene that we saw after the bedroom in the demo. This time though the ending is different, with Scott ending up in the office instead of the end of a hallway. On the office desk, Scott's family left him a note and a flashlight. Throughout the office, you'll get a tape recording of Scott explaining how you deal with an animatronic when they become active. There is a lot of things you can interact with in the office. On the desk, there are 3 monitors. On your left is a door, in front of you is a double door, and on your right are curtains which lead to outside. You can open each of these entrances. Each monitor views the entrances. You can see if an animatronic is in these rooms. Freddy, Bonnie, and Foxy can be seen in them. When Foxy attacks, he'll knock on your door. When he does this, it means he'll
Of course he had Psych Up. That was like the only way I could have lost, bruh. Frick off. Of course. That's literally the #1 move he could have used that would absolutely demolish me, and he had it.
So yes,
I hate this game so much.
This means you should check every monitor for Foxy when you hear a knock. Chica acts differently to the others. She'll start crawling through a hole in the wall. When she does this, you'll have to find 3 phantom cupcakes. They can be found in the 3 entrances, but can also be hidden in various places around the office. They can be found in the drawer located on the left side, a drawer located on the right side, next to the curtains is a bin, and next to the double door is a Chica poster. You have about 90 seconds before Chica actually gets to you, but it still makes you get up and look for stuff. Also, if you open the door or curtain that Foxy's behind, he'll kill you. Now let's talk about Freddy. So, Freddy is a very interesting character, because he isn't an active threat, but he is the most important animatronic in the office. If you get to 6 AM, Freddy will actually kill you in a power outage sequence. To stop this from happening, you have to shine your light at Freddy 11 times. You simply do this by opening the door or curtain he is at.
I don't even know what I'm doing
this. If you take too long to flash him though, he'll leave. Above the double door is a hand clock. It starts off at 1 and each time you flash Freddy, it goes to the next hour. It's fairly easy as Freddy is very active throughout the night. The office is definitely a trial and error game. If you don't know that you're supposed to flash Freddy, you'll be stuck here for a while. When you get to 5 AM, Scott does imply that you have to catch Freddy in order to win, and so does a tip that you can sometimes get. By the way, whenever you die, you'll get a tip. This happens on every level. It still makes for a very fun game though. Like the living room, you're constantly having to check everything.
Man, this thing actually would have been runnable if its nature wasn't garbage, dude. Why does it have to have such a garbage nature, man?
Now onto my only issue with
there's the small chance I could just find another electrode and maybe it doesn't
he won't kill you, instead he'll break your camera if you look at him in the monitor. If you're watching
like this thing's actually not even bad.
Now,
or at least wouldn't have been if it wasn't for freaking
unless all 3 cameras get broken.
That awful
so if
nature,
2 of your
man.
cameras get broken, you can check Freddy more frequently as you don't need to worry about Foxy. This does mean that you must only use the last remaining camera for stopping Foxy, but if you're paying attention, that likely won't be an issue. I would have preferred it if Foxy could attack from a broken camera.
I do have a master ball, so I could pivot easily.
It's just same direction as Bonnie, so from 3 AM onwards, you have to check the doors more often. This won't make
like, what
the
about
game
save
too
if I find a good one,
RNG
right?
based, as like I said, if you're paying attention, you'll probably never
Wailord could be good. We might go for
I wouldn't
Wailord.
call this an exploit as you still have to play the game properly, but it's the fact that Bonnie's supposed to be a hazard when he's actually more useful than anything. Now, here's something
for alligator,
interesting
no, we
about
go for
the
that instead.
office, which might explain this feature. In the first release of the Joy of Creation story mode, Bonnie could actually kill you if you open the door or curtain he was at. This was removed not too long after its release due to people finding the office too hard. Now, I don't think this version of the game is available anywhere as I wasn't able to find it. Bonnie can still appear in the entrance if a camera is broken, so this meant that if your camera was broken,
like
you
how
could
little
still
damn-
die if you went to an entrance that Bonnie was at.
I mean, it's got a good
If you look
moveset, but
downward,
it
you can
seems
actually
like it
see
might be a
Bonnie in the
physical
camera,
attacker.
and you won't break the camera, so you can find out what entrances you've got to avoid. Since I've not played this version of the game, I can't say if this would have been too RNG based or if it would have made it harder in a fun way. If anyone does have this version of the game, please re-upload it as I'm very interested in playing it. Anyway, the office might be the easiest level, but it's definitely a good change from the last two
The
nights.
mixed attacker.
You'll be having to change your strategy as the night goes on. When you reach 5 AM, the office turns red and it once again plays an intense ambience. When you reach 6 AM, after flashing Freddy 11 times, you get a newspaper that says that the 5th phase of Freddy's game is cancelled.
Yeah, I'd rather try to go for the
So in this universe, when Scott announced that his location was cancelled, he was actually
the only way this thing would be good was with Call Miner 2, and I can't rely on that. So I think we're gonna go for the Wailord.
Game release is considered disappointing by Shoddy Game Critic. Now, this is where the game takes a very big turn. The story becomes more dark, and the challenges are vastly different to what we've experienced so far. The fourth memory is the basement. I'm gonna let the first cutscene play out.
Do you believe in spirits? Many do. Many claim they've seen one or have heard stories of people being haunted by these white figures, or oily shadows. My dad made a game series about it. A horror franchise, in fact. It was his shining achievement. Apparently there was a time when everybody knew about it, all over the world. Clothing, toys, accessories, board games, you name it. Five Nights at Freddy's was everywhere. There were even rumors of it getting a movie.
Just rumors of it getting a movie. God, that
It didn't
line
last
did
long
not
anyway.
age well. Now yes, we can accept this as an alternate universe where the FNAF movie never got made, but this is just hilarious to me. At the time of the game's release, many believed that the FNAF movie was just a crazy idea that wouldn't actually go anywhere. But now that the FNAF movie actually came out, and we're getting a sequel later this year, this line is just really funny because of how poorly it's aged. Anyway, let's continue.
Nobody remembers it anymore. Nor the characters, the games, or my father. After that night, it all went away. Nothing lasts forever, and that's why I don't believe in spirits. Everyone has to die. Everything has an end at some point. Even if that point comes sooner than you'd wish.
At the end of the cutscene, it shows Golden Freddy outside the window. Now, I would like you to keep this cutscene in mind, because I'll talk about it again later. The next cutscene has Scott going down to the basement to find his family. A monitor turns on which displays phantom eyes. Then Scott starts yelling at it.
I created you! Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy? How is this happening? What are you?
At the end of the cutscene, Scott gets knocked out by Michael.
Your creation. I'm sorry.
Before continuing any further, I'd like to praise the voice acting of this game. More than not, when there is voice acting in a FNAF fan game, it's usually not very good. But they're actually all doing a really good job here. Also, pretty crazy fact, Scott and Michael are actually voiced by the same person, Rye Guy. It then shows you waking up in a bathroom, and then the memory begins. Judging by the fact that in the last cutscene you saw Scott getting knocked out, and in the next scene you'll see him waking up, you would think that you're playing as Scott Cawthon. However though, you are actually playing as Michael, which is confirmed in the game over screen you can get later on. So the basement is completely different to the other memories. You're not trying to survive until 6 AM, this time it's a free roam mode and you have 6 levels, each one gives you a different objective. The objective isn't made explicitly clear, but you will figure it out soon enough. If you die at any point, you'll only have to restart the level again, you won't have to restart the whole basement again. If you look behind you, you'll see a toilet, filled with what I can only assume is piss and shit. In front of you is a door which leads to the basement. If you remember in the 4th teaser trailer it showed monitors that display text throughout, well this is where it comes into the game. It says, "You exist to let us out" at the top, at the bottom it shows an image of the animatronics, and 2 monitors show different parts of the basement. It then says, "Let us out, open the way or burn with the rest of them." The screen showing the animatronics then turns into screens showing endoskeletons. There are 2 rooms in the basement. The room that's next to the bathroom is the surveillance room and the other one is the boiler room. Next to the boiler room there's a staircase. On level 1 you're supposed to go up the staircase. At the top of the staircase is a door that's been barred off. If you touch the bars you'll hear a giggle. Then you have to go downstairs. When you re-enter the boiler room the screen goes fuzzy and text flashes that says, "Don't come close, come back." This will really throw you off on your first time playing. When you enter the surveillance room you'll see an endoskeleton standing in the middle. As hinted by the hallucination, you must not get close to the endoskeleton, otherwise you are dead. What you have to do is carefully sneak past the endo while keeping a distance. Then you have to go into the bathroom which ends level 1. The basement introduces a new cast of characters, the Fallen animatronics. These are endoskeleton counterparts of the ignited animatronics. Despite how it may seem, these actually aren't the exact same as the ignited animatronics. I'll get back to that later. The Fallen animatronics are Endo B Angel, Endo R Blue, Endo C Mouth, and Endo F Red. Endo C is the one seen on level 1. When you leave the bathroom, level 2 begins. The monitors once again display text. This time it says, "We come from the fire, but our bodies need shape." The bottom monitors then show 4 objects, a guitar, a hook, a top hat, and a cupcake. It then says, "Bring his creations to us."
For Zangus, it's not bad actually.
So what you have to do in level 2 is put the objects displayed on the monitors in a furnace located in the boiler room. Foxy's hook is located in a trash can next to a Foxy poster in a surveillance room. When you pick up Foxy's hook, Endo C will be next to the bathroom. Each Endo acts the same on each level they're on, by the way. If you stay outside the bathroom for about 1 minute, you'll get a hallucination that says you are not safe, go back. Then the screen will start shaking and you'll hear a heartbeat. The screen will occasionally flash red. It'll get more intense the longer you wait. Then after about 40 seconds the entire room will go red. Then Endo R will run at you and kill you. There's an easy way of preventing this. Go to the bathroom, because Endo R respects your privacy. However, if Endo C is in the way, then you can't go in. Once you burn the hook, she would have left though. On the right of the furnace, there's 2 cupboards. The one closest to the furnace has Bonnie's guitar in it, but the other one has Endo C, who will kill you if you open the cupboard. Just before you go up the staircase, there's a Chica poster. When you stand next to the poster, you'll hear a demonic noise. If you interact with the poster, Endo C kills you. When the noise stops completely,
I always get the worst of the 3 options every single time.
Then you have
I could have had a Charizard, but instead no, I got 66.
When you pick up the top hat, Endo C will be in the middle of the furnace. You have to go up the stairs and come back down again.
And I would have faced Groudon and I had Frenzy Plant. Dude, seriously. 33% chance that I get the worst one and I get it. Happens every single time.
Surprise endoskeletons. You definitely have a feeling that something could just jump out at you at any moment when playing this. On level 3, the monitors
Bro,
say
that's the second final in a row I got outsped in one shot with Frenzy Plant, bro. What in the world?
Then the bottom monitors display drawings. It then says, "In the stories he formed, find the key to fit the lock. Avoid the ones lost to the fire."
I'm Matthew. From my break, be lurking at me. I actually just got a Raichu.
The surveillance room now looks different. There's 6 drawings.
Few files ago, but it wasn't that good, unfortunately.
Next to the gate is a keypad with a button above it. 4 of the drawings have numbers on them: 6, 9, 2, and 3. This tells you a code to put in. The more animatronics in the drawings means you have to put the number in later. So the code is 9632. When you enter the code, you can press a red button and the gate will open. When the gate opens completely, you'll get a hallucination that says, "Don't turn your back, don't look away." Then we are introduced to the scariest threat in the entire game, Endo B. Endo B will follow you when you're not looking at him. When you are looking at him,
it's not bad. It's just, it says like no special moves.
He spawns right in the way of the gate. What you have to do is lure him away by looking at him for a bit and then looking back at him. When he's moved well out the way, you have to walk past him while staring at him. In the boiler room, there's another.
Oh, that's funny. There's Rapidash and Arcanine in this route.
Concentrate of Endo B stalking you. So what you can do is lock him in the surveillance room. This
called the Blaine route.
Intense part where you have to look away from him while he's right behind you and press the button. If you manage to do that, enter the boiler room while looking in the direction of Endo B and wait for the gate to close. When the gate closes, he'll be stuck. There's 4 drawings located around the boiler room. One has Chica next to a gift, one has Foxy next to 2 gifts, one has
I mean, I could run this Crobat, it's just I really need really good move RNG.
1, 2, 4, and 5 are color coded. 1 is blue, 2 is yellow, 4 is brown, and 5
3 times in a row.
The color of the animatronic in the drawings with more gifts are the colors you put in later. So the code is 2541. When you press the red button, the gate opens, which gives you a key. The staircase is now blocked, so you can't go through the door. Then you have to return to the bathroom where level 3 ends. When you leave the bathroom, you'll enter a long, thin hallway. If you keep walking forwards for about 20 seconds, you'll get a hallucination that says, keep going, don't look back. Then a red light comes on. If you keep walking forward, you'll eventually find a door. Right as you're about to leave, you'll hear running behind you, but you'll just barely escape. If you look behind you, then you'll get killed by Endo F, who is running at you. And that's the end of level 4. Even though it's really short, it sure does pack a punch because of how scary it is. After you go through the door, you'll end up back in the bathroom. When you leave the bathroom, you'll be back in the surveillance room. The monitors say, we act, we pose, we play, we store, we stare, we scream. We bring his visions to life, because that's how we live, feeding from the joy of creation, and burning what remains. Then you get a hallucination that says, he remains. Now the two rooms have collided into one long room. In front of you there are 3 gates opening with 2 Endo Bs in the way. Now we get to what might be the most intense part of the game. The room is dark so you can't see things from a long distance. You've got to get to the staircase which is behind a closed gate. On the opposite side of the staircase there's a button which doesn't need a code to unlock. I've already said that there's 2 Endo Bs, but there's also 2 Endo Cs. One of them is on the right side and the other is on the left. The one who is on the right is further back. This means that you can't just walk backwards the whole time as you'll run into one of the Endo Cs. In theory you could do that if you knew the exact time to press D and S at the exact moments, but that's something that I've not memorized. So once again, the strategy is that you have to lure the Endo Bs away. One of them is a bit further than the other one, so you should try and line them up first. When you've gotten them close to the end of the surveillance room, sneak past them. Then walk on the right side of the room while walking backwards. When you can just barely see the Endo C on the left, look forward and walk between them. Once you've passed the left Endo, walk backwards again. Then move towards the right, or left since you're looking backwards. When you push the button, the gate will open, but then behind the gate is another Endo B. And the thing is, if you look at this Endo B, the other 2 will move towards you. Try to lure the Endo towards you to the point where he's barely touching the furnace. You don't want him to get too close or you'll run into Endo C trying to avoid him. Then you've got to sneak past the Endo B. Right after you're past him, look towards your right and you'll probably see the other Endo Bs close to you. Once you've reached a staircase, walk up the stairs backwards as the Endos can still follow you up the stairs. Then when you're at the top, turn around and you'll open the gate. Once the gate opens, the Endos will no longer be a threat. Before you
once the
door,
gate opens,
then the door disappears. Now you're
literally said the exact same thing, just
probably
differently.
The stress that its level has caused you.
But it's not
So
the
level
exact same
6
thing, you
is the
doofus.
level. You're now in the room that was seen in the basement cutscene. There's a desk with a monitor which shows an endoskeleton with Freddy's head. Then you go up the stairs where the basement finally ends. Then you get a newspaper where the title of the article has been cut off. However, you can actually read the whole article. The subtitle says Simple Tricks of the Mind or something more sinister. Accounts of these strange apparitions present all the way back since ancient Egyptian mythology. Tell chilling tales of ghostly doubles whose sightings usually precede horrible tragedies for the people whose faces they've stolen. We interview many who claim to have seen or experienced encounters with their own evil twin. So some of you might be thinking, what's actually the plot of the basement? Well, I'm going to go into that after I've talked about the last memory, because in order to make sense of it, I'll have to talk about the game's ending. The basement is the scariest memory in the game to me. Even after playing it so many times and knowing exactly what to do, every time it's still intense. And I still get killed sometimes on level 3 and especially level 5. I would say it's the most difficult level in terms.
That's
of
actually the first attempt that made it in the Brock gym, isn't it? Today? I'm not sure actually.
The basement at least has checkpoints.
I think so. No, I got in there with Wishcash. No, I got to Brock with Wishcash and then I freaking got fricked.
In the game, but the only thing we've seen of the attic was a trapdoor scene in the release trailer. There is also a terrifying animatronic who has kept a total secret from us up until the opening cutscene of the attic. In the cutscene, Michael has trapped Scott in the attic. I'm gonna once again let the cutscene play out.
You've prolonged this for too long, Scott. They're barely holding themselves together anymore.
Why? I have been a good man. We've been good people. Why have you demons come to torture me and my family?
I was saying that we've gone...
Stop ignoring my questions! If I'm going to die, at least I want to know why! Can you at least give me that?
Look, I'm sorry. It's just the way things have to go. It's just a part of life. For us, I mean. Their bodies are hardly keeping themselves together, so they've gathered themselves in the basement. They can't just kill you directly, you know, and I promised them I'd leave you to them. So I brought you here to at least try to talk to you before they arrive. So before they get here and and everything burns, I'd like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to see the world through the eyes of your creations. Being Michael Schmidt has been an incredible experience. I mean, I feel fantastic. I want to keep feeling like this forever. And to do that, I need you to die.
Leave us alone!
So the animatronic seen in the monitor is the titular animatronic. That's right, titular. His name is Creation, who is a fusion of the ignited animatronics made to create, no pun intended, a huge animatronic. He has Freddy's head and top hat, Bonnie's jaw, Foxy's hook, and Chica's feet. So the attic is a sit and survive game mode, however you aren't surviving until 6 AM. In front of you there's a monitor where you can see all 4 rooms that you've played previously. The bedroom, the living room, the office, and the basement. The main enemy is Creation, who starts off in the basement but will slowly make his way up to the attic. Each room is layered top to bottom. The closer to the top is closer to you. Creation has 3 phases in each room. There is a red rectangle next to each room on the monitor. When he reaches a 3rd phase, the rectangle becomes green. Then he'll go back to phase 2. When he gets to phase 3 again, the rectangle will lose its colour and he'll enter the next room. On your right, you have a lever. When he's at phase 2, if you pull the lever, it'll send him back to phase 1. If he's at phase 1 or 3, it won't do anything. So when he gets to another room, he can't go back down to the room he was already in. When he reaches you, you'll actually get a sequence of him coming out the trap door before he goes up to you and eats you. Also, each time you use a lever, you'll have to wait about 15 seconds before you can use it again. On your left, there's another lever. If you pull it, you can toggle to 2 sets of cameras. Behind you, there's a door on your left and right. Each camera shows the outside of the doors. You can shut the doors, but you can only shut 1 door at a time, but you can shut it for
I still don't know if this works or not,
the
but...
fallen animatronics make a return. Endo B and Endo C can be seen on the cameras. Endo C appears on the left and Endo B appears on the right. When the cameras turn to static, they're about to attack. You must have the correct door shut when this happens. They can appear in the cameras at the same time, but they'll never attack at the same time. Whichever one arrived first will always be the one who attacks first. Whenever they've left, you'll hear a bang on the door. If you don't know who got to the door first, pay extra attention to the cameras.
Oh wow.
Also keep in mind
Oh
the
wow.
cameras are mirrored,
Things
so
actually not bad.
on your left is actually on the right, and vice versa. You've also got Endo R and Endo F.
Oh, I
These
didn't see
two
all
are one
those.
of the doors. Endo R attacks from the left and Endo F attacks from the right. When you hear them running, you have to shut whichever door they're coming
I mean,
from.
yeah, we'll try to run it. And her. Try to run it. Good nature, honestly.
If you're wearing headphones, you'll be able to hear which way they're coming from. What if you don't have headphones? Well, I'm afraid you'll just have to buy them. Or if you're playing on PC, which has separate speakers, you can move one closer to you, which will work the same way. If you can actually do that. My desk is fucking huge, so I don't know if this is possible for most people, so probably just buy headphones if you don't have them already. And now we have Golden Freddy, who will teleport around the house. He's only a threat if he gets to the attic. He'll be right behind you. If you look at him, he'll disappear. However, if you're looking behind you for too long, he'll kill you. That's not his main function though. When Golden Freddy's in one of the rooms, you have to flash him by pulling the lever on your right. In order to beat the attic, you have to flash him 12 times. Every 2 times you flash Golden Freddy, a room will catch fire. It'll first be the basement, then the living room, then the bedroom, then the office. And when you flash him 10 times, the attic will be engulfed with flames. So, I've actually speedrun the attic before, and I've actually been able to finish it in less than 5 minutes. However, it does require good RNG and is not really the ideal strategy. During speedruns, I only flash Creation 3 or 4 times and mostly just use it on Golden Freddy. Doing this strategy will mean Creation will get very close to killing you. What I do like about the attic is that you can kind of play it your own way. You can also do the opposite and beat the attic with Creation making literally 0 progress at all. Probably the best strategy is to take turns looking for Golden Freddy and then flashing Creation. Do look behind you a lot though, because you can't flash Golden Freddy when it's behind you. If Creation has been at phase 2 for quite a while, then maybe flash Creation instead. As long as you're paying attention to the endos at all times, you probably won't have an issue with it taking a long time. Really, it's up to you how you want to beat the attic, but if you want to try and beat it as fast as you can, make sure Creation doesn't make it to the office unless the attic is already on fire. Then you'll be forced to prioritize Creation and you'll rarely get a chance to flash Golden and Freddy. If creation breaks down the door in the office, you absolutely must flash him if he gets to phase 2, because once he gets to phase 3, everyone's AI deactivates and he'll kill you. I've definitely got really good at the attic over the years, but when I first played it, I spent 7 days trying to beat the attic, and when the office caught fire, that was honestly one of the most intense moments I've ever experienced when playing a game. I am not joking. I would say that attic is the most replayable memory in the game, since there isn't an ideal strategy unlike the others, except maybe the office. When you beat the attic, you get a newspaper that says, "Man found dead in his own house, body found by landlord in recently repaired house." Now, the final cutscene I'm gonna let play out and talk about it afterwards.
Blastoise is more likely to be good psychics, bad type defensively. Oh wow, we both did very similar things. That's funny.
Survive the night. Just wait for 6 a.m. and it will all be over. That's how it worked there before, right?
Wow, it's actually not bad for a Blastoise. I don't know what I said for a Blastoise, it's just not bad.
This night.
Blast Fire is kind of funny for a water type, but.
You've been consumed by the fire.
What about them? If I have to go, then you at least promise me they'll be safe.
No. Do gong gong gong.
Promise me that you won't harm them. Please.
It's okay, Val. It's okay. We're safe now. Have you called 911?
Yes. Yes, I did. As soon as we got out, I called them, like, a few hours ago. They said they'll be here as soon as they could. Oh, God, you stayed inside there for so long. I thought you...
But I didn't. Don't worry. Everybody is fine.
Daddy, what happened to home? Why is it burning? Is Michael still in there?
We are safe, Nick. Matters. You're safe.
Dad?
Everything's gone.
You are safe. That's all that matters.
Dad, you're acting weird.
Yo.
You are safe.
2016, let's go.
That's all that matters.
Honey, are you okay?
You are safe. That's all that matters.
Daddy, no!
You are
Oh my
safe.
God, oh my God.
That's all that matters. You are safe. That's all that matters. You are
Brr.
safe. That's all that
Oh, so much
matters.
for attempts 2069.
You are safe now. That's all that matters. See, they're safe now, just as you wanted. Thank you for your cooperation, Scott Kaufman.
After the cutscene ends, the credits roll. Basically what happened here is Scott died and Michael took over his body. Michael then got to live as Scott. It's unknown what happened to him after that. Now let's talk more in detail about the story of the Joy of Creation story mode. Let's first talk about the animatronics. How do they come into the real world and why are they attacking Scott's family? The ignited animatronics are actually demons who, in order to survive, they take the form of someone's creation and kill the creator. When they kill the creator, they consume the joy of creativeness. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but they get it from killing the creator, and that's what Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica are. Michael is also one of these demons who takes the form of Michael Schmidt. However, though he's not just trying to kill Scott, he wants to take control over his body. He doesn't kill people in order to survive, instead he controls someone's body. Michael is shown to not enjoy causing pain and suffering, as he only wanted Scott to die because it's basically survival, and he agrees
Wow,
not to harm
6
his family
speed.
once taken
I'm a
control
champ of all things
A
too.
rather funny fact here, during the story mode demo's release, Michael was actually a friend of Scott who was in love with his wife, and he programmed the animatronics to kill Scott so he could be with her. Yep, Michael was going to be a fucking incel. This was changed for pretty obvious reasons. I wonder how Scott would have thought about that being the plot. As for the fallen animatronics, they're a bit different. These ones couldn't properly take the form of the creation, which is why they're just endoskeletons.
Oh, that's a good
not
one.
Animatronics. These ones are also very aggressive, as are shown to attack Michael, who is one of their own kind. Level 1 through 5
Honestly,
are
I'm so
basically
desensitized by Kaizo. Even when I get a good
so
mon,
going
it's
through
like
changes,
I don't
and you can
even
enter
like
different
flinch
parts after
anymore.
going into the bathroom. Level 6 shows the actual basement in Scott's
Yeah, this is one of the better
house.
mons I've ever
Michael's
gotten in
trying to
Kaizo.
invite all animatronics into Scott's house. As for why the animatronics are trying to kill Nick and Val, it's because they're close to Scott, meaning that they'll also have the joy of creativeness inside of them. With it being the 2nd anniversary of FNAF, Scott and his family feel more joy, which is why they've come to get him on the 2nd anniversary. The news article that says that FNAF was cancelled would have been published after Scott's death, as Michael now possessing Scott doesn't have any interest in continuing the series. Before I continue talking about the story, I'd like to go over the extras, which you unlock after beating the attic. You unlock 3 challenges. One of them is bedroom blind mode, where you have to beat the bedroom without being able to see. You can see for a split second 3 times during the night. There's also basement run mode, where you have to beat the basement from start to finish in 8 minutes without dying. And then there's survival mode, where you have to beat the whole game without dying. If you die once, you gotta go all the way back to the bedroom. Something pretty funny about these challenges is that if you beat them, you get fired. Fired from what though? The last thing I want to talk about are the many Easter eggs in the game, which also links to what happens after the events of the attic. Let's first talk about the secret newspapers. In each level there is a secret newspaper that can be obtained. In the bedroom you have to close the curtains for about 10 seconds while Michael is talking. When you open it you'll see Golden Freddy, who'll then disappear. Then you have to turn the light on and off, and on the Celebrate poster you'll see the newspaper. In the extras menu you can view the newspapers. This newspaper is just an article about how Scott had a nightmare about Bonnie coming to his house, which, by the way, is something that actually happens to the real Scott Cawthon. The living room's newspaper can be found by pausing the screen for about 30 seconds while Michael is talking, then checking the key.
I got nervous there because that
Golden
was.
Freddy, he'll disappear. Then you'll see the newspaper on the door. This one says new horror phenomenon has massive success with young children. This is talking about how popular FNAF has gotten. In the office, anytime Scott is talking, you have to open the double doors in front of you, where you'll see Golden Freddy, who, you guessed it, will disappear. Then check the drawer on your right and you'll find the newspaper. This newspaper says tragedy continues to haunt family in Texas as police fail to find the missing man and the trail goes cold. I'll talk more about this one later. As for the basement, during level 4,
What do you mean later?
Keep going and not
How much longer or less of this video could there be?
Away, before you get killed, you'll find a newspaper on the wall. This one says serial arsonist arrested. Man suspected for multiple forest fires in the state is taken into custody after latest incident. I'm not sure if this has anything to do with the story or if it's just a random article, but if this is story relevant, I believe that the arsonist might be Scott, now being possessed by Michael. Obviously he is a demon, so he's not going to act like Scott, and starting fires is in character for Michael, so maybe Michael was arrested sometime in the future. Also, in the opening cutscene when Nick says he lived in the house with his mom, his siblings and his dad, he stutters before he says, "my dad."
I lived here when I was just a kid, with my family. My mom, my siblings, my dad.
This means they probably had a rocky relationship with him or thinks negatively of him. Which would make sense, as he was very young, probably about 3 or 4 during the events of the game, so he would mostly remember his father after he was possessed by Michael, who would have acted differently. Maybe he's in jail for mass arson at the time Nick moved into his house. It's never said exactly what happened to Scott's house after it burnt, but the fact it got rebuilt though implies that it wasn't completely destroyed in the fire, only severely damaged. It can be assumed that Michael kept ownership of the house after it was burnt down, as he probably would have had a hard time selling it without repairing it, which he didn't do as the house was only repaired once Nick owned the house. It is implied that the game takes place in Texas, which makes sense as that's where Scott lives in real life. And in Texas, if someone is incarcerated, their property is owned by the jail until the inmate is released or if a designated individual claims it. This designated individual could be the inmate's child. Nick has an interest in repairing the house and moving into it, so after Michael was jailed for mass arson, Nick took ownership of the house. This hasn't been confirmed, but this is what I think could have happened. The last newspaper is found in the attic. You'll get it by clicking the Golden Freddy plushie's nose 10 times, then look behind you, then look back, and you'll see newspaper on the Golden Freddy plushie. The newspaper is just a page with Golden Freddy that says, "Come back to us, Nick." There's also these secret cutscenes you can get by dying in a certain way in each memory. These are known as the comeback cutscenes, as it always ends with a hallucination that says, come back. In the bedroom, if you die due to your sanity getting too low, you'll get a cutscene of you waking up on your bed in the middle of a forest. During a comeback hallucination, Golden Freddy can be seen. In the living room, if you get jump scared by Chica at 5 AM, you'll die. Then you'll get a cutscene which shows a first person perspective on an animatronic walking towards a door. It ends with them cutting the door with a weapon. In the office, if you get killed by Freddy after failing to flash him 11 times before 6 AM, it'll show the clock with its little hand going from 12 to 6. It then shows it again, but this time the clock is more dirty. Then it happens again, but the room looks worse and the screen starts to shake. Then it does it again, but the drawings are now on the wall, and then the big hand goes haywire and the room burns. This is like you're just foreshadowing what happens at the end.
Nice, we beat Brock.
In the basement, you have to get killed by Endo R, which happens if you stay out the bathroom.
Good TM.
In level 2.
Uproar.
The cutscene shows you inside
I doubt
the
I use
furnace
it, but I'll
with
see if I can
all
learn it.
animatronics looking at you. Then
Can't
you
learn
burn
it.
in the furnace. I guess in the fall,
I don't see a scenario where I really use this.
Burning him in the furnace. In the attic, you just have to get killed by Golden Freddy, which happens if you stare at him. The cutscene shows a
I mean, maybe it could be a finisher move, I guess. I don't know.
Bias, who, if you remember, talks to Nick in the opening cutscene. This implies that Nick actually.
Yeah, forget Iron Defense. I don't really see myself using that.
With there being a puddle of blood,
Except for like
that
really
implies that
big
he was
fights, which we don't have for a
murdered.
long time, so.
Newspaper in the attic is a
Unless you
paper
got the
that
rival
says,
to
"Come
bridge,
back
I
to
guess.
us, Nick with Golden Freddy on it. This might have been
It's a good
paper
finisher
sent to
move, I'll
Nick,
take
and
it.
After he saw Golden Freddy on it, he had a flashback to when he was a kid. I think the comeback cutscene that you get in the bedroom might be a dream that Nick had, and comeback is the demons telling Nick to come back to the house, because the house has value within Nick, and for whatever reason, he does come back. The living room cutscene shows a bare animatronic's nose, meaning the animatronic is either Freddy, Golden Freddy, or Creation. It could be Creation because he has a hook, and the animatronic is shown breaking the door, however it seemed way too small to be Creation. What I think is happening is in this cutscene it shows Golden Freddy looking for Nick in his house. How does Golden Freddy have a weapon? Maybe his design has changed, or he might be able to grow a weapon. Golden Freddy is capable of teleportation, and the animatronics have been seen cloning themselves, so who knows what else they're capable of. Also, during the basement's opening cutscene, Golden Freddy is seen out the window as Nick says,
Everything has an end at some point. Even if that point comes sooner than you'd wish.
This is foreshadowing that Golden Freddy will kill Nick. So Golden Freddy is the only animatronic seen during this period. Maybe he's the only demon left. He does appear to be the most powerful one out of them all, so maybe he lives a lot longer. With Nick being one of the few people who still think about Five Nights at Freddy's and is a son of Scott Cawthon, this made a demon take the form of Golden Freddy, who lures Nick into moving back to his old house to kill him. The office's secret newspaper says tragedy continues to haunt family in Texas as police fail to find the missing man. The missing man is Nick, who hasn't responded to any phone calls, because he is dead. Tragedy continues to haunt family in Texas is referring to the Cawthon family, whose house burnt down, Scott went insane, possibly more happened that is never said, and now one of
Yo,
them
what's going on, Chef? Thanks for lurking, I appreciate it.
After beating the attic says, man found dead in his own house, which at first glance looks like it's foreshadowing what happens in the next cutscene, but then it says, body found by landlord in recently repaired country house. This is actually talking about Nick, who was found dead in his house, which was recently repaired. There is one plot hole though. The article says that Nick was found dead by his landlord, which is the property owner, meaning that Nick does not own the house. So maybe Tobias is actually the owner, which doesn't really make sense, as this implies the house would have been sold to someone else who repaired the house and let it to Nick. It's never actually confirmed that Nick, or even Scott, actually own the house, but it's pretty obvious that they do. Scott is very rich, which is why he can afford a house so big, and the opening cutscene makes it sound like Nick just got ownership of the house and wanted it to be repaired. Even if you ignore the Scott being in prison theory, he could have died, or maybe died in prison, and Nick inherited the house, or maybe his mum divorced Scott. Nick was shown to have a good relationship with Michael during the short time he knew him before he took over Scott, so maybe Nick was his only close relative, so when he died, he left everything to him. It's never said exactly when the game takes place during the time Nick moves into Scott's house, with Nick saying at the start of the game that it's been decades since he last been in the house. So the end of the timeline probably takes place in the 2040s or later. Scott Cawthon was born in 1978, meaning that he would be at least in his 60s at this time, so he could have died of old age. I don't know how the life expectancy works with these demons, whether they live as long as their host or if they die at some point they try to find a different host. I don't know, most of this is just down to speculation. All that's been confirmed is that Nick was killed by Golden Freddy sometime after moving into Scott's house. And that's it. That's the end of the Joy of Creation story mode. Truly a landmark in FNAF history. To this day, it is still considered one of the best FNAF fan games of all time, even after almost 8 years. This nails every aspect. Each night is very enjoyable and different to any other FNAF fan game, and the fact they're also very different to each other means that you won't get tired of doing the same thing. It is definitely a very intense game. I would say top 10 scariest FNAF fan games. The atmosphere of the rooms are unnerving in their own way, and the cutscenes are some of the best I've seen in a FNAF fan game. This is one of the rare times where the most popular thing of a certain category is actually the best.
Nice.
The Joy of Creation story mode is by far the most viewed FNAF fan game on GameJolt, with a staggering 14 million views. I don't think any other FNAF fan game even has half of that, and I can't see this getting topped anytime soon. On the 22nd of August 2020, the Fazbear Fanverse initiative was announced by Scott Cawthon, which was a plan to get FNAF fan games on Steam and consoles, and the developers would actually make money off this. The Joy of Creation, alongside Five Nights at Candy's, One Night at Flumpty's, and Pop Goes, would become part of it. There was going to be a title called The Joy of Creation Ignited Collection, which would have been a remake of The Joy of Creation 2015, now known as Classic, Reborn, and Story Mode, which would have been released as one. However, though, this got cancelled in March 2024, and instead, there would be a reboot of The Joy of Creation Story Mode in development. A demo was released on the 2nd of August 2024 as part of FNAF's 10th anniversary week. I'm not going to be talking about the demo in this video, one because it's only about the Joy of Creation story mode, and two because I might make a whole video on this remake when it comes out. It's unknown when the game will be released. It was said to come out sometime in 2025, but we're now halfway through the year and we still don't have an exact release date, so I don't know. I gotta be honest, I don't play newer FNAF fan games. Like, I've probably only played 8 that have came out over the last 2 years, all of which I only played for the purposes of a video. But I'm actually really excited for the new T-Jock game. This could actually steal the title as the best FNAF fan game of all time, with Afterbuilt being cancelled, and at this point, who knows if FNAF 4 will ever actually get released. This might be the only game that will top the Joy of Creation story mode.
I could put a new video, that one's over.
As for the green and black cubes, I was able to dive onto them, but only by the very skin. The blue cube was just a tiny bit out of reach, so I had to jump for that one as well. On the other side, it was the exact same problem. After doing several videos on collecting every coin in Mario titles, I thought we'd try something a bit different with Super Mario Galaxy, and that is of course to grab every star bit. The only star bits that won't count are the ones that spawn infinitely. The only ones that do that are those that fall from the sky. Now, some enemies like Chain Chomps require a rainbow star to get their star bits, but I'll only need to destroy them if I'm presented with that power-up. I am also allowed to skip levels that aren't possible as well, and only need to get 60 of the 120 stars to get to the final boss and win. So with that said, let's fly into it. Starting our adventure, we of course have to grab up some bunnies, and there's a few star bits found in the flowers, but that's about it. Flying into Gateway Galaxy, I had to get used to spin attacking every single Goomba since those will get us star bits while jumping on them only gets us coins. Now before moving into an actual level, I peeked around the Comet Observatory for star bits, and of course there weren't any. Which makes sense, because otherwise anybody could just grind them out without even playing the game. So first we soared into Good A Galaxy, and the first star wasn't too bad. I did have to break a lot of these rocks by spin attacking the red spot, and this can get annoying if you're not good at the timing, such as myself. And lucky me, there were even more rocks that spewed out of this launcher, but thankfully the star bits stopped producing after breaking 3 rocks. The second star just so happened to have more of these rocks. Yippee, I guess. And everything went fine with the third star until I got to these 2 Chain Chomps. I knew they had bits in them and they could only be defeated with the rainbow star, and lucky enough, there was one down the pipe. I decided to spin attack the Goombas first so I'd have ample time to get their star bits while having time to get the ones from the 2 Chain Chomps. So I destroyed the Chain Chomps and moved to the next area, only to find more Chain Chomps around the corner. So I tried to reach them a few times, but the Rainbow Star's timer wasn't long enough for me to do this. Quite frankly, the Rainbow Star isn't really meant for these Chain Chomps, but I'll still say this level isn't possible for the sake of making my life harder. And on to Honey Hive Galaxy. The first star has nothing too hard worth mentioning, but the second star gave me troubles because there was even more boulders to destroy. And guess what? I destroyed every last boulder only to find a rainbow star at the very bottom. I guess I can say I was an overachiever. I also discovered these little bulb things had 1 star bit each, so I had to go to each and every one to get their bits, but otherwise this wasn't too bad. There's not much to say for the last star besides grabbing all the bits during the Bugaboom fight. In Loop-de-Doop Galaxy, Galaxy, I hopped onto the mana ray and immediately lost my cursor, which is kind of a huge problem seeing as there's star bits all over the place. My only option was to bust out another Wiimote as player 2 and try that. After finishing the tutorial, trying to control the mana ray and focus on the waves while also looking for star bits was extremely disorienting. I died several times just trying to get used to it because you're forced to multitask in a way I've never really experienced before. But thankfully, there's no time limit to completing this one, so as long as you take your time, it's more than doable. And better yet, Flip Switch Galaxy has 0 star bits for an easy victory. Bowser Jr.'s robot reactor has 4 cages with star bits that were really annoying to get because the bullet bills take forever to notice you, but otherwise it was easy. And at that point, I had a really good streak of easy levels. These include Sweet Sweet Galaxy, the first star in Space Junk Galaxy, as well as the second one. The final star has one hard part, which was getting the star bits that Terrantox released throughout the middle of the fight. Sling Pod Galaxy has lots of star bits, but it was easy to complete, and the same goes for the first star in Battle Rock Galaxy. Jumping into the second star, all was well until we got to this launch star.
Did I get him?
Landing, there's this giant ring of star bits that I wasn't able to grab. I tried this quite a few times, and the problem was even if I placed my cursor right on these star bits ahead of time, they were too far away for me to grab.
I'm not gonna bother anymore. I hate running for items.
The problem is the bottom star bits because they leave the screen before there's a chance to grab them all. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to skip this level. For Rolling Green Galaxy, there's a few question mark blocks to hit that would spawn in star bits. They weren't too bad until the third one, because the bits here spawned on this steep slant and I had to be very careful and not fall. Thank God these star bits didn't disappear or anything because it took quite a while, but the level was possible. Now I should mention that there were Goombas that I technically couldn't get star bits from since there was no way to spin attack them, but it was impossible to get off the ball, so I don't think they count in this particular case. But now it's time for another win streak of stars, including the one from Bowser's Star Reactor, as well as the first, second, and third star from Beach Bowl Galaxy. Flying into Ghostly Galaxy's first star, I was unsure if I'd be able to destroy this chain chomp that careens down the road, but by breaking this random block, it releases a rainbow star and I'm given enough time to knock him out. Besides that, this level was free. The following star only has a few star bits in the skulls when racing Boo, so if you move quickly, then you can win and get them all. For the last star, I had to hold back from using the star launcher so I wouldn't miss this star bit block, and Bouldergeist was also a piece of cake. I got worried in Bubble Breeze Galaxy because I missed a ton of bits going off this launch star, but by some miracle, you can go into first person view and collect the bits you missed. There was a bunch more to get from this question mark coin too, but that was about it. And thankfully, Drip Drop Galaxy was a piece of cake, as well as Hurry Scurry Galaxy. But boy oh boy, it's time for Bowser Jr.'s Airship Armada, or in other words, the time of suffering. Everything was going fine until I got to this auto-scrolling section. There's some cannonballs that shoot at you, but there's also spranglers hanging from the ships. I tried spin attacking them, but you have to hit them twice in a row or they won't break, and there's 4 of these spranglers. Jumping on top of them just makes a coin, so that doesn't help. And for whatever reason, I couldn't long jump ahead and spin attack for a head start. So then I thought I could possibly hop from ship to ship, but instead I can only run on this teeny tiny sliver as the rest is blocked off from an invisible wall. I was able to at least get the starbits from the first Sprangler this way, but I couldn't make any more progress. And worse, I couldn't even use starbits to kill these dumb things. So finally, I busted out the second controller and found that I could shake the Sprangler ahead of time, and simply had to spin attack it on the edge and had enough time to get the starbits. That worked for one Sprangler, next was 3 at a time. Now I tried to get them over and over and over and over and was only ever able to hit 2 of these bugs at once. At this point, I was really getting worried because I absolutely had to complete the star to unlock more galaxies, so I let the boss fight start up and decided to bring a Koopa shell back to this spot, which, by the way, I can't believe you can just leave the fight, but anyway, with some practice, I managed to direct hit the Sprangler, but guess what? The shell went right through it. Yep, that's right. Spranglers are invulnerable to deadly shells, because that makes sense. So then I tried hitting the Sprangler with a star bit, jumping at just the right time, spin attacking and pulling back while hitting him, and then I died. This was as close as I could get to hitting it, and I couldn't even collect the bits with this method. I was honestly running out of gas, so I hit up the Mario Challenge YouTubers to see if any of them had ideas, and our good old friend Waluigi Goes Wah actually had a solution. He sent me this clip where he stood on the very edge of the platform and backflipped up above to hit all three at once. Now, he didn't grab the star bits, but with a second controller, this was theoretically possible.
I'm gonna try one more time for the items, and if not, I'm just gonna call it.
Connected his controller to give this stage another try. So after all the struggles and pain with these 3 Spranglers, this was our best attempt.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah. There we go.
Nice.
There we go. Oh my god, we did it! We did it! Oh my god! Finally, after all of these tries, we actually pulled this off and was able to complete the level. This wouldn't have been possible without Waluigi Goes Wah, Tetrabit Gaming, and Parsec. Gusty Garden Galaxy's first star has lots of star bits and it's really easy. The next level has a coin that gives us the rainbow star to hit all these prickly plants, and while we can hit all the ones inside the pipe, there's not nearly enough time to hit the ones on the outside, deeming this level impossible. Moving on to Freeze Flame Galaxy, it was really easy, as was the second star. I skipped the third star because it had a comet mission that I didn't want to deal with, so I went right into Dusty Dune Galaxy. And this first star was extremely annoying to play. At the beginning, there's a Goomba we need star bits from, and the only way to get to him is to ground pound at the perfect time and not stop on his head so we can actually spin attack the lad. Then we have to hit all these piranha plants and destroy this giant boulder, which is difficult to do in the quicksand. But that wasn't even the hard part. See, there's 2 long rows of star bits that zoom past you as you shoot from the launcher to the pipe. So I went back and grabbed some of the star bits early to help. Then after dozens and dozens of tries, using 2 controllers, I managed to grab all the star bits by keeping both of my hands as steady as possible. This was way harder than I expected it to be. And after that, the rest of the level was simple. And now it's time for another long streak of easy peasy levels. Star 2 and Star 3 were no trouble, Bowser's Dark Plant was a breeze, as well as a level from Big Mouth Galaxy. Buoy Base Galaxy was painless, and every star for Gold Leaf Galaxy, and I mean every one, took next to no effort. And that same idea applies to Sea Slide Galaxy. All of these were simple enough, even if this third star did take a while, it was still a cakewalk. Moving to Toy Time Galaxy, one of the launch stars had a lot of star bits to get, but otherwise it was simple. On to the next level, this first launch star required me to get these star bits that were shaped in a heart, and it was a lot harder than I thought it'd be. I actually had to go back and check the footage to find there were 40 star bits to nab. So as usual when I get stuck, I brought in the second controller to help, but even then, Mario moves so fast through the air that it was insanely hard to grab every bit. I even tried standing on the train track to grab some early, but I was too far away for that to work. So after dozens of tries, I somehow got all 40 of these star bits, and I have no idea how. Following that event, the rest of the star was a cakewalk.
No
the
items.
final star was a bit uneasy, as getting
Alright,
these
I'm just gonna
electric
call it
Goombas
then.
on the
I'm
ice
not
was
wasting my
making me
time.
squirm in my seat, but outside of that, the level was easy enough. And
Oh, did I
Bowser
fight
Jr.'s
this?
Lava Reactor didn't really give me a
Trainer
reaction,
down here?
as it was painless to knock out. Honeycomb Galaxy was going fine until
okay.
I took this launch star and saw like a million star bits in the air. I missed a ton of them, and quite frankly, I don't know if I can get these. I tried anyway with a second controller and learned that there was 48 star bits to grab, but even with the help, it was almost impossible to get even close to nabbing them all. The camera swings at too many angles too quickly, and I can't even go into first person when I hit the ground at any point, so I'm gonna have to pass on this star. But Sand Spiral Galaxy was a piece of cake, and the same goes for Gateway Galaxy. Boo's Boneyard Galaxy was hectic, and the ending was absolutely bonkers. I basically needed pinpoint precision to get these last star bits on the wall, and by some stroke of luck, I managed to pull it off. Well, except for these last 3 in the skulls, but I just grabbed them before getting the star. It's that time of the month again. Let's blast through a streak of easy levels. These include Star 1, Star 2, and Star 3 from Deep Dark Galaxy. And Dreadnought Galaxy was more than
Wait, I got the 40%
Star
there.
1, Star 2, and even Star 3. The same goes for Bonefin Galaxy as well as Matter Splatter Galaxy. But then we land in Melty Molten Galaxy. This star had me worried ahead of time because I knew it was going to be tough. Although getting all these star bits around the volcano was immensely satisfying, the hard part was going to be the ending with the rising lava. When I got there, it was going okay until I realized there were 3 boulders coming out of the wall. I knew I needed to hit these boulders 3 times.
Okay, I don't know what happened, but I got the
but lava
40%.
was rising too high for this to be possible. I could get the bits here because the lava wasn't in my way, and with some well-timed long jumps and spin jumps, I could even get these bits. But the boulders from way to the left were
Lumber
impossible.
and
There was nowhere
citrus,
for me to
I
stand, and
take
I
that.
was basically screwed. So what stars did I have left to try? Comet stars. Oh goody. I started with a ghost ship Daredevil run in Deep Dark Galaxy. I basically just had to get the star bits under the ship and complete the star normally. Then there was the Honey Hive Cosmic Mario race, and surprisingly it wasn't too hard because most star bits were removed from the level for the race. And for the last star, I picked Boulder Guy's Daredevil run because, well, I'm a daredevil. And yeah, it really wasn't too bad because this boss isn't that hard due to its simple and slow patterns despite what everyone else says. And just like that, we have enough stars to take on the final boss. And thankfully, this last level didn't have too many star bits. And after smacking Bowser around, we can prove that it is possible to beat Super Mario Galaxy while touching every star bit. Now that I've attempted grabbing every star bit with the first Mario Galaxy, it's only appropriate that I do the same with its sequel. The rules will be pretty much the same. Bit. I've tried to beat Mario 3D World and most new Super Mario Bros. Games backwards, so why not 3D Land as well? A big thanks to Saibu for modding the game to make this challenge possible. The premise is simple. I have to beat the levels from the finish to start. The flagpole is moved to the beginning, I start at the end, and all pipe pathways have been reversed too. There's not much to say about 1-1 and 1-2, but 1-3 is where we first run into trouble. You normally have to drop down on top of the flag, so we clearly cannot make any sort of progress this way. But thankfully, there's an alternate warp pipe we can take to go to 2-1, and that level was also easy. But then we move on to 2-2, our first real challenge. You would normally step on these green blocks that slowly spawn a path in front of you, but we are nowhere near that green block and have to somehow get across this pool of poison which instantly kills us. Thankfully, we have the Tanuki suit and a couple of Goombas to work with. At first, I tried wall jumping from the front and back of the stage. However, the wall closest to us isn't actually a wall, so we only have one side to work with. Well, technically 2 sides for a little bit, as we can wall jump in this corner. This is actually huge because it gives us access to a flying question mark block. Lucky for us, this block flies back and forth across this deadly path, so we just have to land on it. But that is easier said than done. This game has some wonky depth perception, and I don't play this every day, so it was really tricky to land on. And man is it slippery. I landed on it a few times and just kept sliding off because my momentum wasn't stopping fast enough. After a ton of tries, I finally landed on the block, super relieved that I had a chance. And then the block stopped. But it didn't stop at the end. No, it stopped in front of these 2 other brown blocks. So I jumped from those ones and even added in an extra wall jump for good measure, but wasn't anywhere close to the other side. So despite all efforts, 2-2 was still not possible, which means that it's not possible to beat Super Mario 3D Land backwards. But of course, we'll try the other levels out for fun. Going back to World 1, 1-4 was not looking promising. You usually use these tilting platforms to get across, but even with a really good Tanuki jump, there was no chance of making it. You can't even land on the candy cane bars. They're nothing but an illusion. One castle was a pretty funny one actually. I warped back to the castle to fight Bowser, except I can't fight Bowser because the door is closed, and there's no way I can hit the switch that's 2 feet away from me. Not even Bowser was willing to help out. I still decided to try jumping towards where the castle would theoretically be, but I got a death zone instead. As for 2-3, I was really hoping to find a propeller block near me, but there wasn't a single one nearby. However, I was able to make some pretty slick Goomba jumps, which was a lot of fun, at least for these first 2. After that, the next Goomba's too high up and I can't reach them. And now comes some fun times with 2-4. I was going across these red and blue platforms that flip every time you jump and noticed I was a bit too low to reach up top. However, there's a sting bee that barely comes into frame, and when I jumped near it, it followed me. That's when some lights turned on in my head and had the crazy idea of somehow jumping off of it. At first, I would wall jump and just lose my Tanuki suit, not getting quite high enough. So I tried again with a kneeling jump, which is slightly higher than a normal one, and it still didn't work. It was so close though, and I also learned something incredibly useful about sting bees. They will only move when they're on screen, which means you can basically manipulate them to go in a specific spot and then run off screen so they won't move until you get into their proximity. But I had one more idea, and that was to use the flying question mark block. This was going to be gnarly because not only do I have to line up the sting bee perfectly, but I also have to pull off a blind jump because the camera is facing the complete opposite direction I need it to. This was my best attempt. Okay, right about there. Let's try that. Yes! Oh, that was perfect! We made it!
Normally I don't use HP ups, but my HP is pretty low. I'll take it.
Oh my god! I've been making challenge videos for almost 5 years, and pulling stuff like this off is still so enjoyable. 2 Airship was interesting, having to fight Boom Boom at the beginning, and giving him a nice little sneak attack, but otherwise it was really easy. In fact, the next few worlds were either really easy, or we lost right on the spot. Moving on to World 3, 3-1, 3-2, 3-4, 3-5, and 3 Airship could all be done. However, with 3-3, you can't wall jump off these floating mattresses, so we can't make our way up to these falling blocks. I also completely forgot we could play as Luigi until now, and since he's got a higher jump, I'll be using him for the remainder of the video. Moving on to World 4, 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, and 4 Airship can be completed easily. But going into 4-4, there's a warp box that we need to jump into to go into another section of the level, but it's just out of our sight. And 4-5 was a disappointing one. After clearing an extremely tight jump, we can't make much progress beyond that. The next warp box has us floating in the air again, and even with this platform heading towards us, it is completely out of reach. I couldn't even damage boost off this spike ball or get the sting bee near me on time, so this sadly couldn't be done. And already we're at World 5. For this one, you could be
Freshwater, nice. Hyper Potion, nice.
Yeah, seriously. World 5 did not go very well. For 5-1, there's a really tricky jump to make, which feels amazing.
That's so nice.
To land, but
Burn Heel,
progress
nice.
comes at the end because this platform does not go back down since it normally travels up and stops. 5-3 can't be done either because the other platforms are too far away to
Hyper
reach.
Potion, nice.
Neither
Dude,
can
our heals are
5-4
awesome.
Because the pit to climb back up is too far away. This one in particular is really disappointing because it would have been really fun trying to wall jump up this massive hole, but we can't even attempt it. As for 5-5, well, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. And finishing off 5 Castle, we're once again blocked by this door. So we could only complete one level in this entire world, which is pretty sad. But maybe World
nice.
6 will fare better for us. And it definitely did, since 6-1, 6-2, 6-4, 6-5, and 6 Airship can all be done. The only one we couldn't finish was 6-3, seeing as the warp box is super high in the air and is impossible to reach. So with that out of the way, World 7 was an interesting one. 7-2, 7-3, 7-4, and 7 Airship can be done. 7-5 was also possible, but holy crap was it a fun one to tackle. Right away, we're forced to make several Goomba bounces in a row, seeing as the wood platform that we normally stand on isn't accessible at all. This required a lot of practice, but learning the Goomba's patterns and even using these blue poles as backups was a blast. I honestly recommend you guys see if you can do it yourself. It's a great challenge. But 7-1 unfortunately has water pushing us away from the flagpole, and that's all that couldn't be done in World 7. So it's time for World 8 already. 8-1, 8-2, and 8-3 were the only ones that could be done. Everything else was a disaster. 8-4 couldn't be done because the floor that brings you to this area is way too far away, and as for 8-5, the red and blue platforms are too high up to reach, and Monty Mole gets in the way anyway. As you'd expect for the castles at this point, the door can't be open to reach Bowser, and 8-6 didn't go any better. I had to make a couple difficult jumps to get on top of this revolving section, but after that is a long line of lava and no way of making additional progress. As for the final boss battle, you can run towards Bowser and even get around him, but the platforms you'd normally climb up actually disappear before you get to them. And it does make sense for the game to function like that, because there's no way the 3DS could load in this many objects at once without removing what wouldn't typically be on screen. So yeah, World 8 went pretty poorly, but we still have the Special World to check out. But on to Special World 1. Every level was possible except for S1 Castle, and I'm sure you can imagine why. Special World 2 was more of the same thing, with S2-1, S2-4, S2-5, and S2 Airship being doable. S2-2 was pretty dumb because the pipe is literally right there, but we cannot get enough height to reach the darn thing. And with S2-3, once again, we can't run across these poles because the game hates us. And that's it for this world. So charging into Special World 3, S3-2, S3-3...
Yeah, we're kind of struggling against Dragonfly types, unfortunately.
S3 Airship can be done. So almost every level, outside of S3-1. This is not faring us well, considering the platform is super in the air and completely inaccessible. But now we move on to Special World 4. And S4-1 was possible, but had an interesting solution. You spawn out of this warp box and have to float down to the bottom. However, because it's such a high descent, you can veer too far off the path and accidentally run into a death zone and die. And I also needed to like float beyond the goal and then kind of come back. It was really weird how the whole thing worked. I don't even understand it fully, but yeah, I figured it was worth mentioning. But otherwise, S4-3 and S4 airship could also be done. For S4-2, there's a warp box super high in the air that we can't reach, so basically the same thing that happened with the other ghost house in the normal world. And then there's S4-4. You kind of just fail instantly and shatter all your hopes and admirations. But don't worry, S4-5 lets you get slightly farther. And then you'll fail, considering these falling platforms are too spread out and we can't wall jump off the floating mattress. We really need more mattress levels in games, just saying. On to Special World 5, you can beat S5-2, S5-4, and S5-5. S5-1 seemed doable until I discovered the following platforms absurdly high in the air. S5-3 wasn't much better since, yet again, the poles have no collision. And do I really need to explain this one? Let's just move on to Special World 6 as it gets a bit spicy. S6-1 is unremarkable, but things get pretty wild with S6-3. There's a level very familiar to this one that wasn't possible in the normal world, but as you can see now, we've got access to 2 Sting Bee, which honestly got me really damn excited because that means we can do some crazy shit. We've got access to 2 green switches. One of them lets us get a lot of height. So on top of having that, I can also float down to this other green switch, which isn't all that useful, but at least it helps us put us in the corner. With the corner, I can climb all the way up to the top and try to manipulate the Sting Bee to get farther down this path. This was not going to be easy because they had to be positioned so precisely for this to work. There was a question mark block that I could land on in the middle, but it was really far away. So I basically needed to put this lower Sting Bee in the corner of the level and then lure the higher one in that same spot. But this couldn't be done at the same time or I'd lose the Tanuki suit. This was my best attempt. I think there's legitimately a method to this madness. Yo, come to Papa, baby. Yes. Okay, that's it. Bounce off to be safe. Oh yeah! Let's go. Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna make it though. Oh, I'm so scared. I'm pausing.
Explosion, dude! Really?
Okay, let's see.
I've never lost to Misty like ever.
Yes. Oh, it's gonna be close.
All right, I'm in a tree there.
Oh my God!
Thank you guys for watching. Yeah, whatever.